Welcome to Pixel Therapy, the video game podcast where we look at the games we play through the lens of the player, where what you play is just as important as how you play it, and where emotional intelligence is a critical stat. I'm your co-host Jamie, pronoun she, they,
And I'm your co-host Spencer, pronouns they, them.
and this is Pixel Therapy.
Mm.
Even though this is a bonus episode, a bonus episode, as I like to say,
Yeah.
we're gonna start as we always do with our Patreon shoutouts because this is one of the last couple of times we're gonna be doing these. And this is our special thank you to everyone who subscribed at our Patreon name in the credits tier. So that's a very big thank you to Lindsay, Pimpatai, CD Mess, Ava, and Alexis. Thank you all for your subscriptions in the month of May. We appreciate you all
Love
quite
ya.
a lot. And as a reminder, we are doing away with exclusive benefits for paid Patreon subscriptions. So if you are a paying subscriber and you're listening to this, first of all, thank you so much. But also, please feel free to edit your membership to a free one instead. We will not be mad at you in all. In fact, that is
Mm-mm.
what we are recommending people do. The billing cycle is going to resume on Thursday, June 5th, which is very, very soon. So you do need to edit your membership tier before then to ensure you're not billed any longer if you don't want to be. And now moving forward, everyone is encouraged to subscribe to us for free on Patreon, where you'll get access to all the stuff that we make and any updates we put out. So just go on over to patreon.com/pixeltherapypod, where you can stay up to date on all things pixel therapy. And if you're looking for other ways to support the show, please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. You can also check out and subscribe to the Pixel Therapy Pod YouTube channel, where we'll continue to post live recordings of all of our episodes. That's youtube.com/@pixeltherapypod. And you just click on that bell icon, you get notifications for our posts and activity over there. And of course, after all that, know that no matter how you choose to engage with us, we appreciate you being here all the same.
Mm-mm.
All right, it's time to get cozy, time to pull up an armchair. Feel free to lie down on the couch and let's talk about our feelings. Spencer, I'd usually ask you how you're doing, but there's no time for that.
Yeah, we
We
got
have a very
a lot of ground to cover.
we got a lot of ground to cover. We have a meaty conversation to be had because we have an entire season of HBO's The Last of Us to
Literally.
review and discuss and pick apart and hopefully redeem in the eyes
Mm,
of the internet.
mm,
This is going to be the
mm.
conversation
Wow,
that
this is a
saves the
big
show.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean, it very
this
well might be because Jamie wrote a 15-page preparation doc, so it
Yeah,
very
I
well
did.
might save the show.
I did do that, and I don't think that that's actually gonna save the show, but I also don't think the show needs saving. Uh,
Mm,
we are here today to discuss the second season of the hit, I'm still gonna call it a hit, HBO series based on the video game series, which was
mm,
also a hit,
mm.
big hit, even though people really,
Huge.
really love to screech about it, and we're gonna
Yeah.
talk about that a bit
All press
today.
is good press, apparently, when it comes to The Last of Us.
Truly, amen. If you have never seen The Last of Us, this is probably not the place to jump in. This is going to be a full spoiler cast. So, we're going to be talking in detail about what happens throughout season 2. We'll be spoiling anything that happened in season 1. That's fair game. Anything that happened in season 2. And because Spencer and I are gamers and this is a video game podcast, we'll also be talking about and probably spoiling the video games. So it's my God given right as a gamer to spoil
Mhm.
The Last of Us Part 2 for anyone who wants to listen to this podcast. So you have been
Yes.
warned. I do think we've made it past, we can say this now. I think we've made it past probably the biggest potential spoiler from The Last of
Mm,
Us Part 2. So if you've watched the second season of The Last of Us on HBO, I think you've probably seen what most people would consider the biggest, probably multiple of the biggest spoilers that exist in the video game. Joel's death, I'm referring to, of
mhm.
course, that being one of the big things that, anybody who's trying not to spoil the second video game would try to obfuscate from anyone that they're talking to. But yeah, anyway, everything's fair game. We're gonna be digging in. We're gonna talk about we're gonna go through the season, do like real brief recaps of each episode, and then talk through stuff that we think translated well from the game or stuff that we think didn't. Notable changes to the source material that the showrunners made. We'll talk about our favorite scenes and our favorite moments from the show, our general thoughts and opinions, something you can always be guaranteed to hear here on the Pixel Therapy podcast.
Mhm, mhm.
And then we'll close up by talking about what we think might come next season, if they have one.
Do you
No,
Okay,
they've
I was
already
like,
been renewed.
"What?"
There's gonna be a season 3. There's gonna be a season 3 despite the screeching. They got that on lock.
I need my Abby season. I need my
Yeah.
Caitlyn is it Devers or Devers?
I don't know. We should have maybe looked that up. Caitlin,
Well,
I usually say Dever.
it's my I need my Caitlyn Devers season. Love her, love
Love
her.
her, just wish her arms were bigger. It's my only
Yeah.
feedback. I
I have
miss
to
Buff Abby.
say, even though she's not buff Abby,
Okay, yeah.
she's got the
She's got something. Got the
essence of
presence, yeah.
Abby. Like, her face,
Mhm,
like, the amount of facial control and just stature, she
mhm.
really brings the spirit of Abby. I don't know how she
Yeah.
does it in such a small body, but it's there.
How'd she pack all that Abby in that tiny little
Literally,
body?
literally.
It's the braid. The braid's doing a lot of the work. All right, let's get started. We're gonna start with episode 1 called Future Days. Little nod
Mhm.
there to the Pearl Jam song that Joel plays, which in the timeline of the show, because the timeline of the game and the timeline of the show are different, right? The timeline of the game doesn't start in 2013. We might need a Google on this one.
Oh, they moved it to, like,
They
present
moved it up so
day.
that the infected
Ah,
are now roaming during our current time. So
okay.
so in the show, they moved the day that the infected appeared backwards to 2003, I
I
believe,
see. Okay.
and so it made it so that Future Days actually has not come out yet, but the
Oh,
song
shit.
is still featured in the episode because they're not gonna let that
So
go. They're not
Joel
gonna let that
wrote
go.
Future Days
Yes,
and
canonically in the HBO show, Joel wrote Future Days. Sorry, Eddie Vedder. Uh, it was Joel. Anyway, in the summary of this episode sets the stage for season 2. We're getting a lot of
Mhm.
stage dressing. We've jumped 5 years into the future, and Joel and Ellie are now key members of the Jackson community, but their relationship has fractured. And what Joel did in Salt Lake City is actively coming back to haunt him in the form of a young ex Firefly named Abby. We're introduced to several new characters: Jesse, Dina, Gail, and Abby and her crew.
Mm.
And we also see the possible beginnings of a budding romance between Ellie and Dina, and meet a new type of infected, the Stalkers.
Which they basically just call the smart
The
ones.
smart ones. The smart ones. Spencer, how did you feel? I think first and foremost, the
Mm,
the the episode literally starts with, I mean, first we see
right.
the final scene of season 1,
Mm,
Joel's big lie to Ellie
mhm.
about what happened, or his reconfirmation of the lie, that, you know, I didn't kill
Joel's big
nobody
one.
at that Salt Lake City base,
Mhm.
that we were attacked and I got you out, and there's
That
lots
was
of other
so
infected
weird how that
people,
happened.
and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You just slept right through it. So we see that first, and then we cut over to Abby and several fireflies burying their dead,
Yep.
and Abby is pissed at Joel, and she wants to
Understandable.
get him. But first, they're gonna go to Seattle and regroup, and then try to learn more. And one day, uh, her friend promises one day they'll get Joel.
One day they'll get him.
One day they'll get him. And so, right from the very first
It's
few
important to have
moments,
a dream, have a
everybody needs
goal.
something to strive for,
Yeah, exactly.
especially in the apocalypse. Like, you
True.
gotta have something to keep you going. And in Abby's case, it's patriarchal.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, so what do you think of this change? This is huge. In the game, we do meet Abby very early in the game, but we do not understand her motivations until
Yeah.
the Nora confrontation, I believe, like
Oh,
quite a bit
wow.
later. We don't understand.
Oh, is it really that late in the game?
Yeah, we
Wow.
don't understand that she's with the Fireflies until Ellie tortures Nora.
Oh, shit.
You,
Wow.
I mean, I think we assume, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think you can assume that that's who this is or where she comes from, but we
Yeah.
don't know for sure until the Nora scene.
Damn, okay, okay.
But right out the gate in the TV show, they want us to know this is Abby. She means Joel harm, because we don't even
Mhm.
know when we first meet her that she means Joel harm. So it's a big
Right.
shock when she spins around and shoots Joel in the knee with the shotgun in the game. Um, yeah, what did you think of this change?
I I think that I mean, like, I think it makes I think this is definitely one of the show decisions that I wholeheartedly agree is necessary from a writing standpoint
Mhm,
to sustain investment in the show. Like,
mhm,
I think there are also some non-story reasons why it makes sense. I mean, shows, especially today, hinge so much on people repeatedly tuning into each episode when so much content is battling for their attention. So I also think it's a bit of a strategic move because I could very clearly see, I mean, I don't know, this is just speculation, but I could see folks, if Joel, the main character of the season, and Pedro Pascal, the main reason a lot of people tune into said show,
Mhm.
seemingly had been killed by a rando with no apparent reason, and it wasn't until, like, almost the end of the season that we found out why. I think understandably, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, this writing has gone out the window, like, what the hell is going on here?" And I think if you hadn't played the game, I think it's tough to create a piece of media that resonates with both people who have played the game and people who are coming in, and this being their experience of the story. So, like,
Mhm.
I can totally see why that decision was made, and I really don't think it took anything away from the impact because a lot of people, um, who haven't played the game, like, I have a few friends who are watching the show having never played the game, and, believe me, they were just as mad at Abby for for that Joel scene as everybody else, so
Mhm.
I thought it made sense. I mean, what
Yeah.
did you think?
I'm not mad at it, and I understand the thinking for it structurally. I think it might have been cool to let us get I don't think that they should have held on to the information all the way until where they dole it out in the game, like,
Yeah.
who this crew actually is and why they're after Joel. But I think if we had, gotten to like, if we had not known that Abby meant Joel harm until she whips around and shoots him in the leg,
Mm,
and then she gets her
mm,
little monologue explaining who they are and why they're
mm.
there, might have been might have been cool.
That would've
But
been
I
pretty
could
badass, yeah.
like, I think it would have been, like, a really, fun is perhaps the wrong word, but it would have been, like, a really
Whee!
impactful, like, "Oh my god," like, super shocking moment. But
Yeah,
I can also see where maybe that might have felt contrived, like,
true.
how the fuck did these people even get here? How do they know where Joel was? The fact that we actually spend time with her group before that point, we see from even those very first moments after Joel does what he does that like she is on the warpath wanting to come after him. I
Mhm.
think makes it more believable that they would have found their way back to him and kill him. Like there's no question of like, well, that seems pretty far fetched that these people just managed to come back here and get him.
Yeah,
We get to go through those steps with her. So, I'm not mad about it. But it also could have been cool to see, you know, the other version of that. Um, Caitlin Dever is fucking great in the role. I think
so good.
props go to her and Bella Ramsey both for some of the stuff where they have to kind of jump back and forth age-wise over the course of
Mm,
the season. We'll talk more about Bella's work doing that later on when we get to episode 6, but like her showing up as, like, the younger version of Abby, like, I don't know quite how they do it, something with, like,
yeah.
makeup, lighting, whatever, like, but she feels younger in the younger
Mhm.
scene, and then when we cut ahead, she feels older.
Yeah.
Um, what'd you think of the other new characters that we get introduced to here? Some of my favorites from Last of Us Part 2, we get, to meet Jesse and Dina, Ellie's
Mm,
friends. Love the fucking casting of both of those characters. I think, young Mazzino as Jesse and Isabella Merced as
mhm.
Dina both really brought a lot to those roles, like, 2 really talented actors, and young Mazzino
Totally.
in particular just feels like Jesse. Looks
Oh,
like
yeah.
Jesse, feels like Jesse, like, that's Jesse.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like he
yeah.
might have accidentally been born to play the role of Jesse.
Thought you were gonna say young Mazzino in general is, like, hottest man alive maybe? But
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, both him and Isabella Merced, I'm like, I'm not complaining about
Yeah,
what I have to
for
look at
real,
on Sunday
for
evening on my
real,
TV
for real.
screen. I
Legit.
was enjoying myself in both directions there.
Yeah, true that.
Like, "Oh, they're
Yeah, I
so
mean,
talented."
don't ask me, like, what color anything was, but yeah, um, um, I yeah, Jesse and Dina, amazing. Could not ask, really have no no feedback there. I also really enjoy I have to say that the rest of the Firefly crew, I kind of don't really have any feelings about. I mean, even
Yeah.
Owen and Mel, who are arguably, like, other than Abby, kind of our main Firefly, like, characters. I'm imagining next season is when I will start to feel more for them, and
Yeah.
Nora, I suppose. I just think, like, I mean, there just wasn't enough time to really
Yeah.
form a
No.
connection, even though the actors portraying them have done like, I wanna see more from them, and I'm sure I
Mhm.
will.
Mhm.
Gale, though, Catherine O'Hara, what a
Mhm.
fun surprise. I think, like, in all, I don't know that I felt like
Gale's a brand
sh
new character, totally new
right,
from the game, or, like, never in the game, totally new to
right.
the show.
Joel's
But the town
therapist.
therapist, yeah, the town therapist, and slash the town drunk.
True, that as well, and the town stoner.
Yes.
Um, honestly, me. Like, if I was living in Jackson, I would
That would be what you bring to
100%
the
be
community is like
dispensing
yeah.
therapy slash gossip sessions in exchange for, like, 100-year-old weed for
Yeah,
sure,
everybody has a role to play.
literally. Um, I guess I don't know that like, she almost feels like Catherine this is no diss to Catherine O'Hara, like, she brings it to the role. I just felt like the character itself kinda felt more like a vehicle to learn more about Joel than she really felt like her
Well,
own
yeah, Joel,
person.
like, she's literally yeah, this is the double-edged sword or whatever of this like, Catherine O'Hara is great in the role. I'm laughing at the scenes that she's in, and she's, like,
Yeah.
very funny, but those scenes, it's hard even it like, I enjoy them, and yet, like, they're so clearly just there to info dump
Mm.
things and, like, tell us things about the characters.
Mhm.
Like, and it feels pretty, like, on its face
Mhm.
about it. It's, like, not a very subtle way to tell us things about the characters. They use her to tell us things about Ellie, they use her to tell us things about Joel, um, multiple times throughout the
Yeah.
show, and that's almost the only reason she's there. So, she has the storyline that plays out about her husband, Eugene, which, Joel, basically mercy killed after he was bit. Um,
Mhm.
we'll talk more about that later, but I yeah, unfortunately, she feels more like a tool to use in the script and trot out when they wanna make sure that we haven't missed subtle details about the characters that we have on the screen. That's a
Yeah.
little too bad. I don't know. I there's, like, the whole thing about, like, TV now is made for people who have, like, a second screen device, and I
Yeah.
worry that this is, like, a something that kinda ties back to that thinking of, like, we've gotta kinda spell some of this out for
Woof.
people or they're not
Right.
gonna pick up on the fact that Ellie's a manipulative liar and selfish, and Joel is, like, in denial, like, if we
Mm.
don't have this character here to bounce things off of. So, unfortunately, I come down pretty mixed on the overall decision to include Gale as a character, but if you're gonna put a character like that in a show, and you get Catherine
Yeah.
O'Hara to do it, like, that's the easiest way to make me be like, "Alright, I'll put up with
Well,
this.
it's fine,
I'll
yeah.
put up with this. It's not great writing, but I'll put up with this." Yeah.
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 So, how
That's
about
kinda
them stalkers?
how about them stalkers? I mean, I love the stalkers in the game. They are terrifying. They scare me
Mhm.
more than, like, the bloaters do, and I feel like they
Yes.
adequately brought that to the show. They feel like a very formidable enemy.
Mm.
I love the way they were introduced. Yeah, chef's kiss on the stalkers. I thought they
Mhm.
were great, very scary.
Mhm.
And I like all the little details that the show does add to the world, like, we get to see Ellie, like, telling the council about the stalkers and, like, see the inner workings of the Jackson, political system, so
Uh-huh.
to speak, or their governance system, and that was all really cool. I also love the scene of, like, building up towards us getting introduced to the stalkers, Ellie and Dina going on patrol together, that kinda being our introduction to them as friends, slash maybe something more. Um like, understanding getting to see, like, why they, are friends with each other, like, how they
Mm,
kind of play off of each other, them both being the ones that wanna split from the group and be a little reckless and go into the building. Getting to see Kat, who, like, anybody who
yes.
played the game, you just get this illusion throughout the game at a few different points that Kat is, like, another queer woman that lives in Jackson that Ellie had hooked up with in the past. Like, she's literally just dropped in a few lines of dialogue, but actually getting
Mhm.
to see her in the show was really cool, and they were like, "Kat's your patrol leader," and I was like, "It's Kat! Like,
Yeah,
Kat's
that
here!"
was cute. Yeah.
Which is something, like, people who hadn't played the game wouldn't have picked up on, but it was a nice little nod.
Yeah.
But yeah, them, like, going into the building and, making their plan to go after the stalkers together, and their back and forth, like, and how playful they were about it, even in this, like, really serious, like, life-threatening situation. It,
Mm.
like, immediately kinda made you understand, like, why these 2 are friends with each
Mm.
other and, uh, and what their dynamic is. So I thought that all of that was really well done.
Agreed.
Yeah. And then we get that awesome, New Year's Eve dance and kiss scene that was
Yes.
almost transplanted, like,
Like, shot
with
for shot.
frame by frame
Yeah.
accuracy, yeah, from the game. One of the handful of times that they copy over a scene just, like, exactly the way it was in the
Mm.
game, and I'm glad they did that. Like, that's a pretty much perfect scene in the game. We do get in the game much later. It does we don't it's a flashback that we get, and I'm
Oh.
racking my brain trying to remember where exactly in the game it falls, but it is not at the beginning of the game. They
Huh.
they allude to at the beginning of the game when Dina and Ellie go on a patrol together, like, they're kinda talking about the events of the previous evening, but we don't actually
Mm.
see those events until, uh yeah, it might even be, like, before they, uh, move to, like, the house out in the like, after they come back from Seattle.
Wait, really?
It's pretty late.
Wow.
It's pretty late in the
Okay.
game.
Well, it definitely makes sense where it
Yeah,
is
I
in the
mean, it makes sense
show.
to do it chronologically, and I think especially, for the way and we can talk about this a little bit now if you want. I mean, this is getting into stuff that happens over the next few episodes, but they definitely changed the timeline of Dina and Ellie's relationship pretty
Mm.
significantly in the show. In the game, basically from the first moments that we know them, they've had their kiss, and within the first, like, couple of hours before Joel dies, they hook up and they're in a relationship together.
Mhm. Mhm.
In the show, they changed that timeline, and they actually don't get together until they're in Seattle. So
Yeah.
after Joel's death, there's several more months that are baked in there, in the timeline of the game.
Mm.
I don't know if I have a strong preference for one over the other. I personally think they both work. And I will talk more about the specific scenes that lead up to it, but I didn't really have a problem with them kind of like reworking that timeline and us getting to see them fall in love with each other rather than kind of starting from a place where they already are. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I agree. I think that I I think maybe I will reserve what I'm thinking about until we get to some later episode discussion. But no, I
Okay.
I agree. I think that I feel, um, if anything, knowing that months are passing between Joel's death and kind of their journey, it's like maybe there just isn't time for it on screen, but I guess I just felt like the depth of their relation of Dina and Ellie's relationship, for some reason, it felt a little deeper in the game to me than it does in the show. Like, don't get me wrong, the 2 actors absolutely have chemistry, and I think they they bring their respective characters to life and the dynamic really well. There's just something about like, I almost would've I don't know, and I can't articulate what exactly it is that I was looking for, but I almost, um, felt like I wanted to see a little bit more of the depth of the friendship to come through to kind of explain to me why Dina was so willing to go on this adventure with Ellie, especially knowing that she is I guess she doesn't find out until they've already embarked, but, like, I guess this is just part of the spoilers to say that she eventually figures out that she's pregnant. Um, But I don't know, there's just something about it that I think especially considering things that happen a little bit later than that even, I just I think in the game, because they were already, like, in a relationship, that felt a little bit more plausible to me that, like, Dina was already in love with like, they were kind of, like, in love with each other, they were basically apocalypse U-hauling at this point, I don't know.
Mhm.
That's just how I felt. It didn't feel as committed in for some reason in the show as it did in the game. Like, I really felt like
Yeah.
they were ride or die, and I felt like they were good friends in the show. It just still felt it all just felt very new still, which makes sense with the timeline.
Mhm. Yeah, from my perspective, I think they and we could argue whether or not it worked for you or not, but I think they actually changed Dina's motivations for why
Mm,
she goes.
mm,
Um,
mm.
let's get into the second episode
Yeah,
because I think we're going to talk about this more directly there.
yeah,
So the next episode, episode 2, is called Through the Valley, which is another nod to a song. Are these a lot of these are not these first two being nods to songs is cool. Through the
yeah,
Valley is, I mean, there's a notable cover by Ashley Johnson, the voice actress who portrays Ellie in the games, that she recorded for the first trailer that one of the first trailers that they put out for Last of Us Part 2, the game. And there's a scene in that trailer where Ellie is like sits down in a bedroom, like a rundown, like beaten up bedroom to play guitar and sing that song while she's got like blood dripping off of her hands. Do you remember this trailer?
hell yeah, I do.
Yeah, fucking kick-ass
That was
trailer.
awesome.
Nothing in that trailer is actually in the game, including the fact
Yeah,
that, like, Joel walks into the room at the end and they totally, like, fucking misdirected people.
yeah,
But, yeah, that scene is there that song and that trailer is super fucking cool.
yeah,
Anyway, in episode 2, the Jackson area is hit by a blizzard, while the town itself is attacked by a horde of infected. Ellie and Jesse, out on patrol, get stranded in a 7-Eleven full of weed that used to be grown by Gail's dead husband, Eugene. Joel and Dina are taken in by Abby and her group of ex-Fireflies to escape the storm, and Abby takes her revenge on Joel. Ellie finds them just in time to watch Abby finish him off. Brutally, I might
rip.
add. Um, so again, in this episode, we get more of Abby's headspace and motivations much, much earlier than we ever did in the game. We get the dream sequence with her at the beginning of the episode,
Mm,
or the nightmare, I should say, of her walking down the hallway to the surgery in the Salt Lake Hospital
mm,
to find her dad's body. And also in the scene where she's killing Joel, she gives a lot more information. She tells Joel in the game, she does not tell Joel, or at least we don't see her tell Joel why she's killing him, that he killed her dad. So we get a lot more in that back and forth with them. Did you have any, did that all work for you? Any complaints?
My main complaint was that I really enjoyed, so the scene where, Ellie gets stranded in Eugene's weed, factory,
Hmm.
like,
Weed
house,
Factory. His weed
um,
house.
his weed house. I really enjoyed that. I felt like that was a pivotal relationship scene for Dina and Ellie in the
Mm,
game.
mm,
So, like, I wasn't, like, mad that it was Jesse and Ellie instead, and I actually, um, enjoyed seeing Dina and Joel together on patrol and that whole like, I think it showed a bit of, Dina's, like, competence, in stress situations, and I think also maybe helps with some of her motivation for joining Ellie later in lieu of being in a relationship. It's like the fact that she was there
hmm
when she and Joel were captured and was drugged by these folks and all of that trauma. Like I think she's more involved directly in kind of everything that went down. Um, but I did miss that scene between them. So that's my only light complaint.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's a valid complaint, and again, I think this for me personally, it's it's, 2 different flavors of
Mhm.
the same like, I think both work
Yeah.
separately, personally, and I don't know that I have a strong preference for the way the game tells the Ellie Dina story. Um, I think the scene where yeah, so the show completely changes up the pairings that happen on the day that Joel dies. In the game, Joel is with Tommy out on patrol, and Ellie and Dina are out on patrol together when the storm hits. They're the ones who hole up in Eugene's weed haven,
Mhm.
and they end up talking about the New Year's Eve kiss. Some elements of that conversation we see in the tent conversation that they have in the next episode of the show, but they talk about the kiss and they end up hooking up there in
Mm.
that scene. Um, I always found that scene to be a little bit tropey. I don't know, Ellie flicks the cigarette, like, before they start hooking up, and, like, I don't know, it's a little cringy. We'll talk about
Uh-huh.
it more when we get to episode 4. The way they hook up in the show is a little bit cringy too.
Mhm.
So, like, apparently they just can't hook up in a non-cringy way. But the cigarette flick and then them, like, laying there talking about their scars, I don't know, it's just very
Oh,
it's really
yeah.
tropey. I
Yeah.
I loved it when I played the game, but getting to see things play out differently, I was like, "Okay, like, I'm down for this." And I still, like, have a deep appreciation of the scene in the game. I don't
Mhm.
hate it or anything like that. It works for me. But I like that they tried to do a different take on this. I kinda like that they're trying to give Dina more of a motivation outside of just her relationship to Ellie,
Yeah.
that being the only thing that brings her to Seattle. Maybe it doesn't all work, but I like that they tried. And I like the relationship that they try to build up between Dina and Joel, and showing that he was someone who was important to her too.
Mhm.
Um, and I like the bonding scene that we get between Ellie and Jesse in
Mhm.
the weed 7-Eleven instead, in lieu of what we got with Ellie and Dina. I think it gives us more time to flesh out Jesse's character. We get more screen time with young Mazzino.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so
Ain't
I
nothing wrong with that.
no, and then tying it to this storm hitting, this horde attacking Jackson, and keeping
Mm.
Tommy in the town. And they really make some significant changes to character motivations and characterizations from the game.
Yes.
And I think we'll probably keep coming back to this theme, but by and large, for me, I think it works. And I think I just accepted pretty early on, like, they are telling the story differently, and these characters are different. They're leaning into what the actors are bringing to these roles and not holding their feet to the fire of, like, this is the only way we can tell this story with these characters. And so I think they both work, and they both work for different reasons. But yeah,
Yeah.
we can
I
keep.
think my question that I just sort of am being reminded of talking about this is like for Tommy, I think I have a few question marks around his motivations and how they've shifted because now that he wasn't there when Joel was killed, I mean, he also was like watching Joel die in the game.
Mhm.
And he's no longer, he's not even, he doesn't even see it happen.
No.
And so it, for me, it's like, so then what drives him to go to Seattle eventually? And then knowing kind of what's to come. I
In the show,
mean,
are you asking that? In the show, he
yeah,
he goes to save Ellie.
right. And it's like that's his only like I guess I'm bringing this up because in the game, Tommy is basically the devil sitting on Ellie's shoulder, egging
Mhm,
her, feeding her darkness, and almost kind of like and blatantly manipulating her into continuing down a path of revenge because he also cannot let go of the fact that Joel was murdered in front of him and he is feeding this demon inside of her.
mhm.
In the show, he's a lot less, like, angry and bitter, and he's also much more level-headed. If anything, he's trying to, kinda talk her out of going like,
Mhm,
he's a lot more feeling responsible for the community and kind of, like, being a community leader, and so
mhm.
I'm just kind of curious, like, what's gonna be the so I have some theories, but anyway, I guess
Yeah.
talking about this now, I think that change is interesting to me too, because it feels like this is a totally different Tommy in the
Mhm.
show, and
Yeah.
in a lot of better ways. I think, like, I like this Tommy,
Mhm.
and I'm just kinda wondering, like, so where's this character going?
Mhm.
Which brings me to my theories, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think, for me personally, I feel like it keeps it more exciting to me. I definitely feel like I'm
Mhm.
watching a it, we're hitting a lot of the same beats, but we're getting, like, a really different spin on
Yeah.
what the game put out, and as someone who has played the game, like, 3 or 4 times, like, I'm kind of enjoying getting a different take on it. Now, am I in
Yeah.
the minority? Maybe, I don't know, it's
Probably.
hard to tell from the internet because the people who are screeching are the ones who are the loudest, but, like,
There are dozens of us,
there's
dozens.
there's a lot of people who are just like, "This was different than the game, and that's a huge reason why I hate it, because Tommy wouldn't do that because that's not Tommy." And it's like, yeah, you're not wrong. Tommy from the game wouldn't behave this way. Dina
Yeah.
from the game wouldn't behave this way, but that's the characters are different, and I think if you just take the show at what it's doing, I think the
Mhm.
characters are behaving in line with the characterization that they've set up for them with the show. It's just that it is different than the way they are presented in the game, for
Mhm.
sure. Um, Caitlin Dever crushes it as Abby in the scene where she murders Joel brutally, but she's so fucking good, like,
She literally
just
crushes it and smashes it.
crushes it and smashes it. Yeah, but she just yeah, she has such great screen presence, and I feel like I don't know, she just is so believably
Mhm.
mad
Mhm.
and feels, like, very believably, like, capable of doing what they show her doing,
Mhm.
which I feel like I don't know, I'm not an actor, but it seems like that would be hard to I mean, there's a lot of emotion in that scene, and
Yeah.
she plays it in, like, a really, like, kind of withheld way. Like, you could go
Mhm.
really broad with that, and she kinda, like, reins it in.
Yeah.
And then they use the song "Through the Valley" at the end of the episode, as, Dina and Jesse and Ellie are riding back to Jackson with Joel's body in tow. We hear Ashley Johnson's voice singing the Through the Valley song.
Yeah.
Um Also, the whole town getting attacked thing was a great set piece.
Mhm.
That was fun to watch. The bloater, death, like Tommy hitting the bloater with the,
Yeah. Oh my god.
flamethrower was very reminiscent of gameplay. He runs into
Yes.
that alley and there's just, like, boxes piled in front of all the doors. Sick! Oh, I've been
Yep.
there!
Yep.
Yeah. And
And
then
the Abby in the fence, under the
oh,
fence.
yeah, yeah, they one-to-one that too, the when she goes
So
between the when she's
scary.
at the copper mine, she runs behind the building and the horde hits the, um, chain link fence and it collapses and she's, like, crawling through it. Yeah, yeah, really
And
cool.
then
And they
Joel
kept showing the,
saves
like,
her.
hand, like,
Yeah.
the infected, like, trying to put its hand right through the chain link. Ugh,
Ugh,
god. Yeah,
nasty.
yeah, very nasty. Good stuff, though. Well done. All right, episode 3, The Path.
Mhm.
We jump ahead 3 months to Ellie getting out of the hospital while Jackson rebuilds. Ellie wants to go after Joel's murderers. The council votes against it, despite uh, her like prepared remarks. And her and Dina sneak out of town anyway with the help of old Seth the bigot.
Mhm.
Um, he's given a lot more screen time in this than he gets in the game for sure. Uh,
Yeah.
we were talking about in depth, like, the character changes to Tommy, so I don't wanna belabor that, but, yeah, he's definitely not depicted as bloodthirsty. In the game, Tommy goes first. Tommy leaves right away. The game
Mhm.
also does all of this, like, the next day,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
getting out. Like, Tommy sneaks out, runs away to go after them, and then, like, a day later, Ellie and Dina are out on the road after Ellie's not so injured. They don't have this gap of 3 months.
Mhm.
I that works in the game because the game has to be all about, like, getting the player back on the sticks, and you gotta keep moving, and you
True.
gotta keep driving. Um, but I think for a TV show, this makes more sense. It makes more sense logistically that
Mhm.
they would not have left immediately, and also with this characterization of Tommy being someone who is more community-minded. Jackson's just gone through this huge attack. Like, again, they set everything up so that it makes sense why the character is doing what they're doing, and the 3-month gap, makes sense to me, and I think that'll work. I didn't have any
Mhm.
issues with any.
I like the part where Ellie walks through Joel's house in that
Yeah,
episode.
yeah. Which is very similar to what we get in the game.
Yeah.
Um, she finds his gun and his watch and stuff in the box on the bed, and then she goes into his closet and smells one of his jackets and finally lets herself break down a little bit. Really powerful
Yeah.
moment in the game, and I thought Bella Ramsey did really good with that scene here.
Someone
Yeah.
also mentioned I think it was this episode. I don't remember seeing this, but I guess when she's walking through his house, there's a shot where you can see his guitar in the background, and all of the strings are gone off of his guitar
Oh,
because he
shit.
had
He
used
took
them to
'em
replace the strings
first.
on Ellie's guitar the night before.
Damn,
Or
Joel.
not the night before, 3 months
Yeah.
ago. But
Yeah.
still, it's like he would give the strings off of his guitar to
Yeah.
this girl.
Joel, why are you so awful and so lovely at the
I
same time?
know, literally.
We all contain multitudes. We get an early introduction to the Seraphites, in
Mm,
this episode. We get a scene of, a group of them, leaving what the fleeing what they say is, the war.
mm.
Um, and we get introduced to their whistles and an explanation of their
Mm,
whistles and how they work. And, um, I don't know, this is another one of those moments where I think it's probably I'm not a show writer. This is probably the right call, but man, the impact of being Ellie in the game and running into the Seraphites the first time and just hearing the creepy whistles
yeah.
and seeing the disemboweling and not really understanding who these people are or what the whistles mean. And then, well, I think in the game you hear the whistles and then you get hit with an arrow.
Mm, mhm.
Um, like, all of that is so powerful in the game. So I'm like, oh, did we lose a little something here? But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. They clearly try to set up very early on in the show the varied nature of the people in the two groups in this conflict. We see here these are some, this first introduction to the Seraphites is like, oh, they're like a peaceful, normal people. And then we pretty much spend the rest of the season seeing them being very, very brutal.
Mhm.
Um, so it seemed like it was an effort to try to at least kind of similar to what they did with Abby, like we want you to
Yeah.
understand a little bit that there's more to these people than just the violence you're gonna see them enact
Mm,
before we
yeah,
start showing you the violence.
totally. Totally.
We get more Gale exposition dumps. I think we've talked about that already. Um, and then we get, near the as the about the halfway, maybe 2/3 way mark of the episode, Ellie and Dina head out. They sneak out to head to Seattle. They stop by Joel's grave in a really powerful scene, with an addition from the game where Ellie leaves coffee beans on the grave.
That was sweet.
That was really nice touch. That was something that was pretty specific. Well, I know there's reference to Joel liking coffee in the game, but I think the show, like, kinda leaned into that a bit more and gave him and Ellie more dialogue about it, so that was a
Mm,
nice little tribute that they did there. And then we get the scene in the tent between Ellie and Dina where they pull some of the dialogue from the game in the marijuana house. I don't know what you the pot farm, scene with them. They pull some of that dialogue into the tent scene with Dina bringing up the kiss and asking Ellie to rate it. But
mhm.
then we get them both downplaying it instead of leaning into it. And Dina has the quote that I saw a lot of griping about online saying that, she's not gay. Ellie is, though. So you've kissed girls before. What do you think? I saw a lot of people be pretty upset about this when it happened. I
Why?
wonder they felt like it was kind of taking away, Dina's own queerness to have
Uh,
her say something like that.
mm,
I personally read it as, like, she's clearly just not out yet. She's clearly, like,
mm,
struggling with it and is not ready to come out yet.
mm.
But I don't know. A lot of folks found that to be, like I think people were maybe taking it too much at face value of, like,
I
"Oh,
see.
well, are they not gonna get together or what? She's not
Oh,
gay?"
oh. Huh, okay. That's funny, I didn't even
Yeah. No.
I was more caught up on they were talking about how, like, Jesse's, like, depressed,
Mhm.
and I was like, like, why? Like, what? Like, is it 'cause
Like,
he's
why is
like
Jesse depressed, or
like, is
why
he
are we talking about
depressed?
this?
No, I guess I mean, I figured they're because the 3 of them are, like, friends, so, like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally get let's talk a little bit about our friend who isn't here,
Yeah.
but,
Why would
like,
you ever talk about a friend who's not there?
um I just, like I was am I like, I was almost like, am I supposed to gather from this that Jesse is like, sad that it's not working out with Dina and is, like, pining for her? Or, like, what's he sad about? We never really come back to that. So
Mhm.
I don't that just confused me. I was just like, I don't kn am I supposed to know what he's sad about, or is this just supposed to be, like, a one-off, like, conversation? I was more caught up on that than I was about anything
Yeah,
Dina was saying about
yeah.
her queerness.
Um, the way I read it when the episode first aired was Dina was naming this, and to me it implied that, like, that he's y well, that their relationship doesn't quite work, like, that they know that they're not quite right for each other,
Oh,
and that that's part of that disconnect is what she's reading is, like, his sadness and, like, they're
okay.
not actually in love. Maybe he wants to really be in love with her, maybe she wants to really be in love with him, but they both kind of know deep down that they're not each other's people,
I see.
um, and that they care for each other, but that it's not the deep romantic love that they are both looking for and that they're kind of just, like, killing time with each other.
Okay.
That was kind of how I read that when I first heard that scene, and then we do, hear later in the last episode, Jesse talks about, like, actually having, like, real romantic feelings towards a different young woman,
Right.
and never really feeling that way towards Dina, and so I think in retrospect, I think my read is still probably the right one, or, like, what they were trying to convey is that he knows he's not in love with Dina,
Mhm.
and she kinda knows she's not in love with him,
Yeah,
and so there's a sadness there
yeah.
to their
And
relationship.
also, that's a great point because when, like, later we find out Jesse had like, he fell in love with this girl who was, like, kind of trapped, like, visiting, like, merchant type of person, and then she had to leave and asked him to go with her, and he felt like he couldn't leave Jackson behind. So maybe he was sad, like, Dean, like, if she was like, "We hooked up," he was sad, and I couldn't really tell what was going on with him. Like,
Yeah.
maybe he was that maybe that
Maybe
was him
the
being sad
timeline was
about.
actually tied to
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
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 Okay, that makes more sense to me. Okay.
Yeah. Alright, episode 4, called Day 1,
Do
Seattle Day
it.
1. I mean, the episode's called Day 1, but Seattle
Yay,
um,
Jeffrey Wright.
yeah, we get introduced to
Oh, sorry.
Isaac.
Yeah, the I forgot about the summary. Okay.
It's fine. There's no rules here. But yeah, we get introduced to Isaac, played by Jeffrey Wright, the leader of the WLF, also known as the Wolves. Ellie and Dina move to the outskirts of Seattle and make their way to a WLF base at the TV station. They're chased from the TV station into the subway tunnels, where Ellie takes an infected bite meant for Dina. She's forced to admit to Dina that she's immune. Dina admits to Ellie that she is pregnant, and they bang it out. And the episode ends with them learning their next destination, which is going to be Lake Hill Hospital. So yeah, Jeffrey Wright is Isaac.
Yay.
I was so excited to see they were able to bring him back. Jeffrey Wright plays Isaac in the game as well. Um, and one of my big complaints about Last of Us Part 2 the game is that he is horribly underutilized in that game.
Mhm.
They got this like fucking S tier caliber actor and
Yeah.
then give him like 10 minutes of screen time in the game, if that. And you really don't understand his motivations. He's just kind of there to be like creepy and evil.
Yeah.
And uber violent for no real
Totally.
reason.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I really am so glad that Jeffrey got to come back and reprise the role and take another crack at it and like flesh it out and deepen the character. And if that's like one thing that I think the show has given us that is just like adding more depth to the characters, especially smaller characters. I think Jesse gets a lot more depth in the show than he's afforded in the game. And I think
Mhm.
Isaac is another one of those characters who really benefits from the extra screen time that the show allows. So he is great. I love the opening scene with the Fedra truck.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
who's the fucking like the Drake and Josh actor?
Yeah, it's Josh Peck.
Yeah.
I totally didn't clock that. I saw
Yeah.
it later online and I was like, "Oh my god." That was funny.
But yeah, him
Random.
blowing up the whole truck full of Fedra, like his own Fedra men was
Mhm.
like really powerful. And then the scene that we get of him torturing the Seraphite man
Ugh, fucked up.
who is just the most naked, like more
Yeah.
naked than anyone has ever been on TV
Yep.
before.
It's not an HBO show without some full frontal twig and berries.
Yeah, I mean, but he's just like he's naked and then it's just like, yeah, what the entire situation that they have him in is incredibly
Yeah,
compromising
bleak.
and Yeah, that scene is so disturbing. It's
Mhm.
perhaps weird to say I quote unquote enjoyed it, but
Mm.
I feel like I mean Jeffrey Wright eats in that scene. Like
Mhm.
the all the stuff about the cookware,
He
the
cooks
little
and
throw
eats.
the little throwaway, like, there was the store, Williams Sonoma, you wouldn't know it. Like, before we even see that he's talking to this, like, so naked man, like,
Yeah.
just the little throwaway and, like, the back and forth between them when he realizes that the or was oh, the Seraphite has the line where he's like, "She watches over us," and Jeffrey Wright's like, "She's been watching you get your ass beat."
So
Like
fucked up.
I don't wanna like it as much as I do, but it's such good characterization of Isaac, and Jeffrey
Yeah.
Wright just crushes it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Really crushes.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about one of the elephants in the room with this season, which is the characterization of Ellie
Mhm.
versus Dina. Who's smart and who's not? The internet
Oh,
needs to know. Why Ellie's so
yeah.
dumb? Um,
Yeah.
we get a handful of scenes in this episode in which Dina is shown to be very strategic, good at planning things out, and Ellie is a bit less of a advanced thinker and is more of a go doer. We get the scene
Mhm.
that's been fucking screeched about a bunch where Ellie opens the tank lid and it slams down.
Mm.
And oh my God, everyone could have known they were there. Why are they walking through the middle of the street talking in full
Mm.
volume? These people are idiots.
Mhm.
We get the, uh, is this no, this is the yeah, Dina is the one to point out to Ellie, like, "Oh, we shouldn't just walk right up to the building that says WLF on it because, uh, if they painted that there for everybody to see, they're probably not too concerned about someone coming up and finding them, so we shouldn't do that on horseback in broad daylight."
Yeah.
What do you think about this? Is Ellie dumb? Is Dina too smart? What have they done? What have they done to
What have they
Ellie?
done?
What have they
Um,
done? They ruined her.
they ruined her. I was definitely one of those people who was like, in general, why is everyone
You were
walking
on
down?
Reddit?
No, sorry. I wasn't on Reddit, but I was in my living room stressed out, like, why is
Uh-huh.
everyone just walking down the middle of the street in broad daylight?
Yeah,
I was thinking and saying that aloud
that's
and
fair.
like biting my nails, like, "Oh my god, someone's gonna get fucking shot." But it's TV, whatever. I can let
Mhm,
that go.
mhm,
Um, I really did honestly, it didn't even really occur to me the whole Ellie is dumb this in the show discourse until I went online after and I was like, "Oh." I really honestly just took it as she's 19. She's a more believable 19 than game Ellie because a show is gonna be like, in general, I feel like with Tommy, Joel, Ellie, they're all more human and um fully fleshed and tender than their game counterparts because they're
Yeah,
not video game characters, like they're
yeah.
people. Um like in the game, Ellie's taking arrows and bullets and fixing it with some gauze that she found in a dirty drawer. So like
Yeah.
I also believe that she can't be
Gauze is
as
inexplicably, like, in an office building.
no, yeah, like in a file cabinet, like, it's fine. So, like, I've just sort of taken I feel like I've adjusted to see them as more fallible and human
Mhm,
because this is a more human telling of the story. So that didn't
mhm,
really bother me so much. I think, like, one if anything, one bit of characterization that I can see why people are upset about is, I think I don't remember if it's this episode, but there's a scene where, like, they're about to infiltrate and some building. Maybe this comes later, but Dina's like, "Let's, like, use your gun as a last resort," and
yeah,
Ellie's
that's in
like,
the next episode.
"Okay, well, I'll just say it anyway," but,
Yeah, go for it.
like, Ellie's like, "What, like, you think I'm the type to just go in and start shooting?" And Dina's like, yeah." And I mean, I feel like Ellie as a character, a big part of and again, maybe this is just me still holding on to game logic, but, like, in the game, Joel is the heavyweight melee, like, powerhouse, and Ellie has like, she wields, like, her knife and her bow and arrow, and she's a lot more stealthy. She's a lot more like, "I'm gonna try to take someone down silently rather than shoot them." Like, for her, the gun really is a last resort. She's much more prone to kind of being in the shadows and coming out and attacking. And so that to me that stuck out to me personally as like a would Ellie really be going in guns blazing? Like, I don't really see Ellie that way, but eh, I'm willing to chalk it up to kind of how her characterization is a bit more realistic teenager in the
Mhm.
show than it is in the game. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think we mostly agree on all fronts. Bella Ramsey is playing a very different version of Ellie than Ashley Johnson played in the game.
mhm,
The Neil Druckmann and Hallie Gross, the creators of the game, they've talked about wanting Bella to have her own, or sorry, their own version of the character.
mm,
They've talked about, like, how much in past interviews, we've heard how much Ashley Johnson was allowed to imbue herself into the role of Ellie, and I think
mm,
they wanted to do the same with Bella Ramsey, and so we have a different version of Ellie, which again, I think comes back to, does it work within the context of the show? Like, is Ellie, does the line of who Ellie is work within the context of the show? I think it does.
mhm,
Is it, quote unquote, "my Ellie" or who I want Ellie to be?
mm,
I agree with you about the gun thing, Ellie's not, the thing that Ellie is good at is, getting into the situation and finding her way out of it. So,
yeah,
but I think I can hand wave that away a bit because I think
mhm,
they really have that moment for that bit of dialogue between her and Dina where Dina's like, "You're a little crazy. It's something I love
mhm.
about you." Like,
Yeah,
that's really the
true,
point
true,
of
true,
that
true.
moment and
That's
not
true.
like, "Oh, Ellie's, so incompetent."
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I think that's how I took it. So
Mhm.
when we watch I do think in the show, Ellie as a character is much more believable of being the same person that we watched last season, now aged up 5 years. I think in the game, I don't think that the Ellie we play as in part 2 feels like a 19-year-old.
No.
I don't think it feels like it's only been 5 years. I don't even think she
Mhm.
looks like she's 5 years aged from the previous character. They made significant changes to the character model,
Mm.
and she feels like, I mean, it feels like a continuation of that character, but it feels like more than 5 years has passed. Like, she feels older than
Yeah.
19 in my opinion when you play The Last of Us Part 2. I feel like I'm playing, early 20s.
Yeah.
Like, she just feels more figured out in who she is.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
and also, she's just a much, in the original Last of Us game, she is like I don't know, she's just darker in the game. She's just
Mhm.
darker, she's quieter, she's a bit more reserved. She has her thing with the joke book, but she's not as like, Bella Ramsey has played the character quite differently and being a lot more, chatty
Mm.
and, silly and,
Mhm.
playful than I think Ellie is in the games. Like, Ellie has playful moments in the games, but overall her character I don't think is, a play anyway. Just a very different take on the character. I think it's okay to like them both. I like them both.
Yeah.
I just think they're different.
Both is good.
Yeah, and so it doesn't bother me, yeah, they're walking down the middle of the street. They're also fucking stupid kids. They're both supposed to be
True.
19 years old, and they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I I don't know. That works for me. I think it's continuing to showcase that, they are in over their head and they do not know it.
Mhm. Yeah.
They don't know it yet.
Real.
Um We get the "Take on Me" scene. Oh, sorry,
Mhm.
were you gonna say something else?
I was gonna say, one bit that I like that happens in the show and the game is, they find this, like, queer bookstore,
Mm,
and they comment on the rainbows, and are like, "What's with all these rainbows?"
yeah,
It's funny, like, we were watching this show, and, my roommate turned to me and was like, "How could they not know what pride
yeah,
flags are?"
yeah.
I have always felt like I mean, I made it to, like, age 20
Mhm.
in the in our time,
Yeah,
and I've had very little knowledge of queer history until I was really in my mid-20s, and even though I went to a very, at the time, progressive college, that was supposed to be incredibly welcoming to LGBTQ students, I didn't know what non-binary meant until I was in
Mm,
my, like, early mid-20s. I didn't
yeah.
know what the different I had seen a rainbow flag. I had never seen, like, a trans flag. I had never seen, like, a lesbian flag. Like,
Mhm,
people had to explain to me what those things were. So, like,
mhm.
in a world where there is no more school and everyone's in these, like, military encampments, and
Yeah,
we're still in the, like, don't ask, don't tell era, and there's no, like, sense, like, people are so focused on survival that they're not really making I just I don't know. I believe it. Like,
yeah.
I believe it. So, it's just
Yeah,
an
the only thing I
interesting
question is that,
detail.
like, in Jackson, they have access to so many I mean,
Mm.
in an episode or 2, Joel gets a hold of a tape that has an audio recording of the fucking like, a space shuttle launch, but, like,
Yeah.
Ellie's never stumbled across a book about queer history.
So what we're learning here is that Jackson does not celebrate Pride Month, and
Well,
there
I
has
mean, J
never been a pride parade in Jackson.
I mean, it kinda seems like, yeah, maybe Jackson's just this, like, black hole, and, like I mean, they allude to, like, Kat's the other one, like, Dina has a line in the first episode, I
Uh-huh.
think, about, like, Kat being the other one, like, there not there's not queer people in Jackson? How big
Yeah,
is
what's
this
up with
town?
that? What's
Are
up with
people
that?
hiding it? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm willing to, like, accept it, and also, like, the line is just funny, the, like, "What's up with the rainbows?" I don't know, maybe they were all optimists, like, "Ha, like,
Yeah.
it's funny in the game too." But yeah, I can understand them maybe not recognizing the rainbow. I do think it's maybe indicative of this story being created by not queer people that
Yeah.
like, Ellie and Dina don't there's no queer elders, there's, like, no queer history. They're just, like,
Yeah, that's
out
crazy. If
here.
there's anything queers be doing, it's constantly preserving our history and passing down oral tradition because we're constantly on the verge of being eliminated. So, like, that is a little
Yeah.
weird to me as
Yeah.
well.
And just, like, that there's, like, I don't know. Like, the apocalypse has happened and everybody's still in the closet, like, I don't
Yeah,
yeah,
what? Come on.
anyway, um,
Hmm.
it's
Sus.
an interesting it makes me scratch my chin a little bit, but it doesn't ruin the show for me. It's just like,
Yeah.
eh, I feel like there could
Interesting.
have been an opportunity here to, like, do more,
Yeah.
but, like, that's not what The Last of Us is trying to
Jackson is anti-woke. So
do.
anyway,
Yeah.
so speaking of speaking of queers, what was your so how did you feel about the whole you said the love scene was corny, so tell me about the Take on
I
Me
said
love
it's a
scene.
little cringy. Okay, no, well, like, the Take on Me scene, good, great, grand.
Yeah,
I really love I love that that's one of my favorite fucking scenes in the game.
yeah.
They get into a music store and in the game it is optional, which I just love too. Like you can
Mhm,
totally miss that scene, but if you find the guitar in the music shop and Ellie plays Take on Me and Dina comes and sits down and listens to it and it's this really beautiful moment. I'm having this like intimate, vulnerable moment with each other and Dina's obviously like so fucking smitten and it's great.
mhm,
Um I really loved it in the show too, but, like, the contextualization is completely different because of the way they've changed the timeline with Ellie and Dina's relationship. So what we're actually watching is Dina accept the fact that she's in love with Ellie,
mm,
over the course of the song and, like, trying to process that, and Isabella Merced just sits there and, like, slowly starts crying and, like, just looks like she's completely fucking smitten, and
yeah,
like, she nailed that scene. Bella's version of the song was great. I thought that scene was all that was beautiful. That was super well done. Um, where the cringiness comes in is the sex scene that they get later in the episode. After Ellie takes the bite for Dina and to save her, and I love that they fucking like it happens so quick in the game, and it's also with spores in the game, right? Ellie's gas mask cracks, um,
ah, okay,
and Dina thinks that,
mm,
she's gonna breathe spores, and she tries
mm,
to, like, yank Ellie's mask off and switch it with her own, and Ellie's like, "No, no,
mm,
no, 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 I'm immune." And they really don't fucking, like like, Dina kind of accepts it pretty
Yeah.
quick, and they move the fuck on, like, it's not they don't dwell on it, like,
Mhm.
Dina doesn't have a whole moment where she's gotta wrestle with it. I really like that the show, like, drew that out a bit, that, like,
Yeah.
we see, Dina having to, like, wrestle with the idea that she's gonna have to kill this person that she only just accepted that she's totally in love with, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and, another, like, just, like, fucking powerhouse acting from Isabella Merced in all of those scenes, like, she just looks you can just see all the thoughts that are running through her head as she's, like, holding a gun on Ellie.
Mhm.
So Ellie comes clean, says, "I'm immune, blah, blah, blah." And then, first of all, Ellie just being like, "Great, so I'm gonna just go to sleep." They've literally just run from the subway. They were just
Yeah.
chased by a horde of zombies out of the subway. She got bit. She kind of forgets that she got bit. I feel like that's a little weird too. Like, you've literally been hiding the fact that you can take a bite for so long and it hasn't, like,
Mhm.
registered to you. Like, when Dina points the gun, I could see, like, forgetting it initially, but, like, as soon as Dina points the gun, you know
Yeah.
why Dina's pointing a gun at you.
Yeah.
But she's like, "What? Oh, my arm?"
Yeah. Yeah. I was like,
Like, "Yeah,
"Girl."
hun." "Yeah, you got bit."
Mhm.
Dina thinks you're dying. And then, yeah, she's like, "I'm just gonna go lay down and sleep, and you can just sit and watch me,
Mhm.
and I'm not gonna turn, and that's how you'll
Yeah.
know it's true." So just the, like I don't know, just the fact that she can, like, just go sleep after that was a bit odd to me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like, "Okay, let's just go sit down."
Or like,
And,
"Let's
like
talk," or
yeah, like, if she
something.
had accidentally fallen asleep, like, anything that just seemed like a
Sure.
weird way to write that, like, a
Mhm.
weird reaction for Ellie to have.
Mhm.
And then when she does wake up, and it's been hours, and I did think it was funny that, like, there's water dripping on her face, and so
And she's like
she's, like, grumbling and pawing at her face, and Dina's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
she's like, "No, no, no, it's just water." And
Yeah.
she
That
shows
was
Dina the
funny.
bite, and, Dina, again, inexplicably has a lantern. Where'd she get the
Mhm.
lantern? It
Yeah,
made sense that she had a flashlight, but this lantern was in their bag? Question mark? That they ran through the sewer, like, the subway with?
must have
Question
been heavy.
mark? Must have taken up all the room in the fucking bag, like, what else do they have in the bag? Anyway, she's
Yeah.
got the bag, or she's got the lantern. She approaches, and she's still got the gun on Ellie, and, like, Isabella Merced's doing great with,
Mm.
like, her acting,
Mm.
but just then Dina comes clean, "Ellie, I'm pregnant." Okay,
Mhm.
great, like, that makes sense. This is such a tense mo and then they just immediately, like, make out and have sex. I don't hate
Mhm.
it, but it did feel a little like, "Whoa, okay, we just boom, boom, boom." I don't know, did that work for
Ye
you?
yeah, I also was kind of like yeah, I don't again, I was like, "Whatever." It's just as tropey as I think, like,
Yeah.
I feel like I would imagine that the character would still be stuck on, "What? How are you immune? Like, what's going
Mhm.
on?" I but I guess that's just me. I'm not I understand that we have a 7-episode season, so
Yeah.
things have gotta keep moving,
Yep.
and I guess it makes sense from a sense of, oh, the tension breaks, she's been waiting to have to shoot Ellie all night, the relief washing over her would compel her to kiss her. Um, I mean, I guess they're 19. I suppose
Yeah.
I could have sex at the drop of a hat at 19, so maybe that's part of it. But,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't super believable to me, but I'm not on Reddit, like, yelling about it.
Yeah. Yes. I feel similarly, like, I I was like, I liked everything that happened before they started kissing, and I was cool with everything that happened after, but it was the instantaneity of the
Mhm,
transition, that like, I can hand wave it, I can explain it away, but I think it just felt awkward, and it was one of those decisions where I'm like, "This feels like we did this less because this is the right way to tell this story, and more
mhm,
because we only have so much time to tell this
mhm.
story, and we've gotta hook these 2 up and get them together because then there's gonna be Nora, and then there's gonna be this, and we're not gonna have time to do it later than this. Things are gonna get too dark, too violent, so they need to
Yeah,
hook up now." And this is one of the downsides to them shifting the Ellie Dina timeline because trying to fit their budding romance, like, blossoming like that into such a dark story of what happens in Seattle that just gets
Mhm.
progressively darker is challenging.
Mhm. I will say I'm not angry about it. I'm
Are you
sort of
sure?
I think the part I'm gonna reference is, the whole so in the game, when Dina tells Ellie that she's pregnant, Ellie is furious.
Yeah,
She's
she's
like,
not happy.
"So you're a burden." Like, she's basically like, "Why the f like, what the fuck? Like, you need to go home, like, get out of
Mhm.
my way." And in the show, Ellie has this hilarious line where she's like, "I'm gonna be a dad."
Yeah, she's, like, really excited about the pregnancy.
She's excited about it. And for me, I think I'm sort of so I think this I wanna explore this more when we get to the last episode of the season, but I think for me, this also contributes to kind of the defanging of Ellie in the show, which I largely don't have a problem with. I think I'm struggling to imagine what is gonna drive her to want to go after Abby after going back home to Jackson. And sorry, game spoilers, I guess, but, like, Seattle doesn't go great. They go home, they kind of recoup, but Ellie just can't let go and has to go back and find Abby again. And so far, I'm not seeing much of the rage that drove Game Ellie in her initial pursuit for revenge. I guess some of that comes out. I guess we'll talk about it in the next episode. But in general, it more. I'm yeah. I'm just I'm feeling like her. I guess I'll stop there because I wanna talk more about things that happen in later episodes when we get there,
Yeah.
and things I think might happen that would spur her on, but this was another moment that I felt, I would have at least expected Ellie to be concerned. I guess she is concerned. She's like, "You don't have to come with me, like, you can
Mhm.
stay in the theater, you don't have to put yourself in danger." Um, but I don't know. Again, I'm not I think it still makes sense. It was just something that was a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah, I think it's a I think it's a valid concern. I also have the concern of, in God forbid 2 more seasons when we see like yeah, we know they've been confirmed for a 3rd season, but Craig Mazin, one of the showrunners, has been like hinting like, "Well, we really
Yeah.
need a 4th to finish the story." And I'm like, "Oh dear God, please don't make Santa Barbara an
Its own
entire fucking
season?
season
God.
because that was already too long in the game and it does
Yeah.
not it's an episode at most."
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, neither here nor there. But yeah, I similarly have concerns about how how will they build to this and make it believable that she goes back because they are doing a different version of Ellie.
Mhm.
And I think you use the word defanging. Like, yeah, they wanted to make show Ellie more likable, I
Mhm.
think. Like, I think that
Yeah.
is a lot of the motivation here. And also I think a lot of the motivation is that this this character feels more like Bella imbuing more of Bella into the
Mhm.
character of Ellie. And
Mhm.
so it's a bit of both, and that has inherently made which is not to say that Ashley Johnson isn't likable, I'm sure she's a lovable
Mhm.
lovely person in real life, but they've leaned more into Bella's characterizations, imbuing them into Ellie, and it's just inherently made her more likable as a character than she is in the game. In the game, she's pretty despicable, but you are
Mhm.
her, and so you're automatically in her shoes, and you are also pretty pissed that Joel has been killed, most players
Mhm.
were.
Mhm.
And so that really, like, drives you forward. I don't know, it's hard to imagine what that show would have been
Yeah.
if they would have leaned into that emotion and not given us any empathy for Abby out the gate and just really leaned into Ellie's rage, and we're driving with Ellie, and Ellie is pissed, and we're gonna fucking go to Seattle and kill this girl. Yeah, I don't know. It would have been a much different show. It would have been a probably, like, grimmer and harder show to watch.
Yeah.
Um
It's interesting because, 2 of my favorite shows 10 years ago, I don't know if they still would be my favorite shows now because I think a lot of my, um, values and I've changed a lot in 10 years, but Breaking
Haven't we all?
Bad
Yeah.
yes, Breaking Bad and Mad Men
Mhm.
had 2 deeply unlikable
Yeah.
protagonists who
Yeah.
are horrible fucking people,
Yeah.
and yet deep down within you, there's still a piece of you that roots for them and fears for them and
Mhm.
wants them to succeed even as you see how they drive everyone in their lives away and don't deserve any of the wins that come their way. And I think in a similar way, in the game world with Ellie, like you've mentioned, you know, a part of the magic the magic of the game is the way in which you are just so unwilling. You don't want this for the characters. You really don't want to see Ellie further descend into darkness, and yet you have no choice but to push the buttons the game is telling you to push, and you're actively reminded that you are not in control of this character's story.
Yeah.
I am part of me is like, is it because we is part of it because we live in a world where because it's like a woman, it would be that much harder for audiences generally to accept that a
Yeah.
woman can be depraved and we wouldn't root for her in the same way we would for like a white man who can do these things and be these characters. I don't know, but I
I
have
do wonder. I
noticed.
mean, and not just a woman, but a gay woman, which already,
Yeah,
like, I
yeah,
mean, people, like, it's hard to even, like, imagine that people are out here, but they're, like, out here just fucking downvoting shit just because there's gay people in it, like,
yeah. I don't know.
review bombing the episode just because there's queerness in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't want them to make narrative decisions like that out of fear, but, like,
Mhm.
is that a factor in the thinking here that we have to for TV, we've gotta make Ellie more likable because
Yeah,
she's a gay woman and can't make a despicable lesbian our main
yeah.
character and expect people to keep watching the show.
We support women's wrongs.
Yeah, if you support women's rights, you've gotta support women's wrongs. Um Yeah, I don't know. But I do think, like, the end results, we get, like, a super fucking cute scene between her and Dina the morning after, and
Sure.
they talk about the baby, and, like, that scene is delightful. Also,
Yeah.
Dina gets an opportunity there to, like, unpack her,
Mm,
like, queer journey and, like, when she realized she was bi and, like, the homophobia that her mom, like, offered her and, like, why she was afraid to say and, like, Ellie has that great line, where Dina says, "Not everyone's as brave as you," and Ellie's like, "I'm not brave, I'm just obvious." Like,
mhm.
it's a beautiful scene, it's a beautiful moment, like, both the actors are doing great, they have great chemistry,
Yeah.
and the fucking "I'm gonna be a dad" line that broke the fucking internet. What is wrong with
Yeah,
people? The amount
I
of takes I
know.
saw that were like, "Jesse's just being written off, he's the real dad, and they're just fucking
Oh,
write him off."
that was the
Yeah,
direction people were
that was
going?
one of the
Oh.
takes. What were say some of the ones you heard. There was
I
a
was
lot of
mine were
vitriol.
all just like, "This is ridiculous, like, why would she say something so
Mm,
flippant and goofy?" Like, this
okay.
just took all of the seriousness and weight out of the
Yeah, I
scene
saw a
and
lot of the bigotry,
yeah.
that was
Oh,
being slung
I
in that
see.
direction of just
Okay.
like, "Oh, these women just, like, writing the man out of the picture,"
Oh,
like
wow, I didn't see any of
like
that.
I was like, "This is just like, have you met a queer person?" Like, this is the thing
Wow.
that like, a butch woman might say, like, or the non-birthing parent might say, like,
Uh-huh,
in a queer
yeah,
relationship, like, this is, like, just a normal, like, kinda silly joke thing, it's not,
yeah.
like,
I like too the kind of,
it's
slight inclusion of non-traditional family, like, I
Yeah,
think Ellie mentions at one point, like, "Oh, like, how like, co-parenting, you, me, and
yeah,
Jesse, like, this'll be interesting and cool,"
yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, I like that kind of, like,
yeah,
acknowledgement of kind of, like, multi-parent." I like that part.
mhm, mhm.
Existence. Anyway.
And I think importantly, Ellie says, "I'm gonna be a dad, not I'm gonna be the dad." But, like,
Mhm.
yeah, there's a whole contingent of the internet that has, like, taken that quote in particular, and there's some pretty, like, just horrible shit that
Yeah.
you can find out there. People, like, memeing Bella Ramsey. They kinda tied it up with this
Oh
whole
god.
campaign against, like, how Bella Ramsey looks and how Bella Ramsey acts and, like, just turning it into a really disgusting that's proliferated, unfortunately, and it's so weird that to me that that is the line that we've latched on to as being, like, the
Yeah.
most egregious thing in The Last of Us.
Yeah.
When I watched the episode, it felt like quite throwaway, to be honest, but,
Mhm.
like, I was like, "Haha, move
Yeah.
on," but, yeah, it ruined some people's entire lives. Um, yeah.
Great.
Let's move on to the next episode, yeah?
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, I guess I do wanna say, like, I don't think I literally don't think they could have had Ellie be the character that she is in the show and had her have a super negative reaction to the pregnancy in that moment, especially with the
Mhm.
change to the timeline
Yeah.
of her and Dina's relationship. Like, that detail had to change.
Yeah.
But I do think, um I feel like by the end of the season, Ellie's the kind of person who might have called pregnant Dina a burden, but not at this point,
Mm.
based on what we've seen.
Mm. Yeah. Mm.
Anyway,
Okay.
episode
Moving
number
on.
5, Feel Her Love. Yeah, we could probably talk about that for 2 whole hours and don't need to do that. Feel Her Love, Ellie and Dina travel to Lake Hill. They cut through a building and are cornered and overwhelmed by stalkers. Jesse arrives in the nick of time to save them. They escape into a park and are immediately run into the Seraphites. Dina takes an arrow to the knee, Skyrim style, and the group splits up. Ellie makes her way to Lake Hill and confronts Nora. Nora ends up infected, and Ellie tortures her for info about Abby's location. Um, we get spores in the show.
We do.
Spores were originally left out of the TV show despite being, like, a main factor in the game of how the virus spreads, partially because, uh, humanity would be pretty fucked if, like, if this disease is, like, just airborne.
Yeah.
We'd be screwed. I don't know if anybody but The Last of Us would be none of us. So there's that, like, the realism thing, and then there's also I think Craig Mazin has said, like, we didn't wanna put all of our actors in fucking gas masks all of the time, like, you pay these
Yeah.
people these ridiculous contracts to have their pretty faces on the screen, and then we put a mask on them. Like, no, we're not. So just
Yeah.
logistically, there were a lot of reasons to leave sports out of the show. Although I do think that they brought them back in a pretty cool way and like
Mhm.
treating them like something that's kind of isolated certain areas where the infection is really, really old is cool. I think the opening scene that we get in this episode where we're seeing the WLF as they clear out Lake Hill Hospital the first time. And we meet Sergeant Elise Park and Hanrahan, who is leader in the WLF that Isaac met with on his first day joining a couple episodes ago.
Mhm.
Like that little scene where, Elise reveals that she had to lock a whole patrol of men downstairs, including her son, to die because they had breathed in the spores. It's just really well done, and I feel like that's something that The Last of Us show does really well, is giving us these, like, short scenes with characters that we're not gonna see too often, but that convey
Yeah.
something, like, really interesting about the world. It reminded me a bit of, like, the outbreak scene that we had with the doctor, the fungal doctor, in the first season when
Mhm.
the government comes and, like, picks her up and brings her to see the body. Like, it harkened back to that. It's like, here's a character, you're not really gonna see them too much. I mean, we do see Elise Park again, but you're not gonna see too much of them.
Yeah.
But here they are, just like a powerful scene to convey some exposition that we could have delivered in like a really boring way, but here's an interesting way to do it. I think I attribute some of that to Craig Mazin because I feel like that's very reminiscent of how Chernobyl, his previous show
Mm.
Chernobyl told stories. So it's cool. I like
It's a
that.
nice world building, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I have a note here. Oh, the competency conversation comes up again.
The competency
Ellie, why Ellie dumb? So first we get a scene where Ellie has actually, just brought power to the building that her and Dina are staying in, the Pinnacle
Mm.
Theater. So just did a possibly smart thing
Mm.
as she enters the room, but people dismiss that because Ellie doesn't know how to triangulate and Dina
Oh,
does.
that. Yeah, okay.
Why doesn't Ellie know how to triangulate? I don't know, because
I
Dina's book smart.
I mean,
People
I
were
could
pointing out,
never.
like, Ellie was in school. Yeah, she was in fucking military school. Like, Ellie was good at school. Seemed like she got in trouble a lot, and what she was good at was being a soldier.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
that doesn't mean she knows how to use a protractor.
Mhm.
Um, I don't have any issue with these characterization decisions, and it's weird to me that people are so hung up on them.
Yeah.
But then we also get the scene that you referenced, earlier where, Dina points out that, it is like as they're going into the building that they sneak through that's full of stalkers that they find out is full of stalkers, points out that, "Hey, Ellie, we gotta do this quietly, like, there's WLF all around, so,
Mhm.
like, don't pull out a gun and start shooting." And we already talked about that one.
My
Um
main question in this episode was literally like, so Jesse comes back and saves them in the nick of time from stalker building. I have
Mhm.
to say that scene where they think it's one stalker, then they see like, okay, it's a couple, and they turn and then they look again and there's like a
Yeah, then
dozens
they go
of
to back
them.
out and there's, like,
Oh
4
my
more
god, that
behind them. It
was
was like, yeah,
so great.
very intense
One of
and
those
not
moments
not
where you're
something that
like,
was in the game.
yeah, like, like Dina and Ellie are not gonna eat it in this episode, and yet you're
Mhm.
still, like, stressed,
Yeah.
but, Return of Jesse, yay. But I was kinda
Yay.
like, how the hell did how did he
They explain it
do
in a
they?
scene that feels like it was made just for the internet. Um,
I
oh,
can't
they don't explain it, I think, until the 7th episode. While him and Ellie are walking, I have hold on, in my 15 pages of notes, I do have a note about this. Da, 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 da. Jesse explaining how he and Tommy found Ellie and Dina so the internet nerds will shut the fuck up about it is the note that I wrote down. And yeah, it's in the final episode as him and Ellie go to collect Tommy. They talk about it and he explains how they found them, which is that they, took the most obvious route into Seattle. They
Mm.
ended up finding Shimmer in the music store.
Love that
Um,
Shimmer survives the
I
show.
know Shimmer survives. We're jumping ahead, but that was so great. Like people on the internet, this was one of the good things that people on the internet were talking about was like every episode that passed after they left Shimmer in the music store was like, where is Shimmer? Is he just eating hay in the music store? Is he okay? Where is he? We need to know because in the game, Shimmer does die. It gets blown up.
Mhm.
And yeah, so very glad Shimmer made it. Um,
I saw sorry, this is a total, like
go.
you know that picture in, uh True no, what's it called? Life is Strange, the new one. What's that one called?
Yeah, not
True
True
not
Colors.
True Colors. True Colors is the good
Double
one.
exposure.
Double Exposure, where Max is, like, holding the gun, pointing it at the camera.
Yeah.
So anyone who even if you haven't played the game, you can imagine this hilarious photo of someone pointing a gun, like, close up directly at a camera, like, meme style. Anyway, there's this meme on Reddit of, like, Shimmer the past, like, 2 days in Seattle. It's Shimmer, like, holding the gun and just, like anyway, okay, that's all I had to say.
I love
The
that.
best jokes are the ones you have to explain.
Yeah, absolutely. But also even within this episode, within episode 5, when they're in the park, hiding from the or like before they
Uh-huh.
encounter the Seraphites, uh, Jesse explains that he saw he found their map back at the Pinnacle Theater.
Oh,
And that's
okay,
how he
okay,
knew where they
okay,
were
okay,
gonna
okay,
be,
okay,
and
okay,
he was like,
okay.
"Great triangulation, by the way," and Ellie's like, "Yeah, that was all Dina," and he's like, "I didn't fucking think it was you." And he doesn't say fucking, but he's like, "I know. I knew it wasn't you."
Okay,
Um,
okay. Well,
so they
great.
explain it, and
Okay.
honestly, again, it's like, on the one hand, I'm like, "Yep, okay, great, you can't complain," like, they explained it in the show, but I'm also like, they literally just had to put that in there because they knew
People would be
people
freaking
would
the fuck out. Yeah,
complain about it. S
real.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's
Um
talk about the Nora scene.
Okay, but first we've gotta talk about why does Dina wanna avenge Joel more than Ellie?
Wait, what?
Have you seen this feedback on the
No!
internet? Yes, so this is the thing. In this episode, as Dina and Ellie are walking to the building that they're gonna get cornered by the stalkers, they come across a pile of murdered Seraphites by the WLF,
Mhm,
and Dina throws up again
mhm,
because pregnant, and that's what you do when you're
mhm.
pregnant. You just throw up every time you see a dead body. Uh,
And
and
only when
Ellie
you're pregnant.
and only when you're pregnant. I mean, it's like the greatest trope in media, right? Like,
Yeah,
anytime you see a woman throw up in a movie or TV show, you know she's pregnant. It's just like, it's guaranteed.
it's science.
It's science, the number one way that people find out they're pregnant. Anyway, Dana throws up, And Ellie has, like, a second guess moment of, like she's like, "Oh my god, why am I doing this? Why are you here? You shouldn't have come. You need to go
Mm,
back."
mm, mm.
Again, not saying that Ellie needs to go back.
Right.
But Ellie's like, "I'll take you back." Not like,
Uh-huh.
"I'm not gonna go, but you need to go back. Why did I bring you out here? You're
Right.
pregnant."
Right.
And Dina stops her and keeps walking forward, and then tells Ellie the story of the first time she killed somebody,
Mhm.
which was when she killed the raider that killed her mother and sister, and she was quite young. She was like 7 or 8, something like
Mm.
that. And basically, like, tease that all up to kind of explain some of her motivation for coming to avenge Joel, which is like, you know, she got the opportunity to kill the person who killed her mom, to kill
Mhm.
her family. And if she hadn't done that right away, like if she had had to watch that person kill her family and not been able to seek retribution immediately, she
Right.
would have hunted that person to the ends of the earth. And
Mm.
so she is here to do that for Ellie, to give Ellie that chance, and because she thinks it's the right thing to do, and puts the ball back in Ellie's court. She says
Yeah.
something like, "If you wanna go, I'll go. If you wanna leave, I'll leave. If you wanna keep
Mhm.
going, I'll keep going. If I die, it's on me." It's like
Mhm.
a really great little moment between the 2, and Ellie
Yeah.
says she wants to keep going, and they keep going. And people have really made a lot out to again, your point before, like, this is not a super angry, like, filled with revenge, cold and aggressive Ellie who's constantly driving us forward in the show. And so people see the scene and they're like, "Why does Dina have more emotion and more investment in
Mm.
seeking out Joel's killers than Ellie does?"
Oh, I
So I
didn't
don't know. I just
yeah.
wanted to know if that was a take that you had,
Not at
something that you
all.
agreed with. Okay.
If anything, I felt like this made more sense for why Dina was even here,
Mhm.
because things weren't that I think she needed some of her own motivation to drive
Yeah.
her to be this invested. So, like, that's what I took from it. I was like, "Okay, yeah, this makes sense for her character."
Yeah.
So that didn't even occur to me to be mad about that.
Well, good. I'm glad that that's the case, and sorry I had to bring that to your life. Let's talk about the Norris
No!
scene. You
God.
wanna talk about the Norris scene. What do you wanna say about the Norris scene?
That was crazy. More demonic Ellie, please. No, I'm just I felt like, I mean, as per usual, Bella acted the heck out of that.
Mhm.
I think, like, the whole the spore-filled air and the red
Oh, and
lighting.
the actually, like, that new type of infected that they introduced that are
Oh,
sitting there, like, stuck in the cordyceps infection growth
yeah.
and are just like they breathe in oxygen and breathe out spores, and they're,
Nasty.
like, half alive and half dead. Like, do you think they still have any conscience in there? But we actually
I hope
see
not.
Leon Park, the
Yes.
son of, Elise Park that was
Yeah, it's a
referenced
great
in the
detail.
opener. I
Ugh,
fucking loved that. But
yeah.
Ellie just, like, yeah, leaning down and, like, and almost like a callback to the first season when she, like, pokes at that infected that she finds, like,
Mm,
crushed in the rubble.
mm,
Like, her just kind of, like, scientifically, like, with
mhm.
interest gazing at this thing,
Yeah.
was yeah, it was a cool scene, and the fucking set design
Yeah,
of
that
all
was
that. We
cool.
haven't talked a lot about the sets and stuff, but, like, some of the scenes that they recreate from the game are wild. Like, this one super stood out to me, and also when they go to the TV station, in the previous episode, and the
Mhm.
bodies are the Seraphites have killed a bunch of WLF and disemboweled them, and the hanging bodies and the blood painted on the wall, like, it's
Yes.
just it looks exactly like it
Scary.
does in the game, and it's so scary
Yeah.
and so
Also,
well
like,
done.
just that scene with Ellie knowing what's going on further downstairs with Abby,
Oh,
which we
yeah,
won't
right?
get to until
Yeah.
next season, but, like, I
Yep.
was just like, "Oh my god, like, Abby's
Oh
down
my
there
god.
fighting the Rat King."
Yeah, we better get the fucking Rat King. If we don't get the
Yeah.
Rat King, I'll riot. That'll be the thing that finally turns me off this
Oh
show if
my
we don't get
god.
the Rat King.
Yeah.
uh, um, Tati Gabrielle did fucking great as Nora. Like such
Mhm.
a such so like so little screen time, and yet like I just feel like when Ellie confronts her and she initially like seems like she's expressing remorse and then like turns it around and calls Joel a little bitch.
Uh-huh.
Like she did great, taunts Ellie. They go running, through. Yeah, I thought she really did a great job despite having such a small amount of screen time. Like,
Agreed.
I'm excited to see more of Nora, and her characterization of it next season. But yeah, I mean, for me, this episode kinda put to bed some of these concerns that I had been wrestling with a bit myself of like, yeah, is Bella just not capable of getting to, like, the dark places um, that Ellie's character goes in this season? Like, are we really not gonna see her, like, be grim and dark? Like, is that
Mhm.
was it just a limitation of the acting, and so they pulled it back? Are they afraid to have Ellie be that violent? And then we get the Nora scene, and a lot of those fears faded away, and I do feel like they've just, like, her vengeance is not driving her in quite the same way that it does in the game, and yet at every opportunity that she gets to pursue that, it's like as soon as she doesn't have somebody watching over her shoulder or pulling her in a different direction, she's off
Mm.
in that direction. You know what I mean? It's like they're in the park and like the minute she sees that she can get to Lake Hill, it just
Mm.
like totally absorbs her and she goes in that direction.
Real.
Um so it's almost like it's like always there in the back of her mind, but when she has the opportunity to pursue it, she just like and it speaks to like that she is reckless. I think Ellie's
Yeah.
reckless in the game too. I think
Oh,
anybody
yeah.
wants to say
Oh,
that
yeah.
Ellie's like this super strategic person, like
No, no,
you
no.
were when you played Ellie in the
Sure.
gameplay. And I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's some of the ludonarrative dissonance of the game. It's like, yeah, when I'm playing Ellie, those motherfuckers don't see me. I am mowing them down. I killed
Mhm.
200 people on my journey to get to Abby, and every one of
Yeah.
them didn't know I was there. I was
Yep.
silent as the night. I was Batman.
Mhm. You
Like,
literally.
but in the cutscenes, Ellie's kind of a reckless mess. She runs into
Totally.
things half cocked. She's not as tough as she thinks she is. Multiple
Mhm.
times in the game, they show her like trying to hold someone hostage or like do a Joel thing and like bring his level of violence to the scene and she fucks it up.
Mhm.
Um so yeah, I don't know. I'm cool with this idea that yeah, she's a little bit more off the like going off the seat of her pants, like off
Yeah.
the cuff and improvising her way through things and through a combination of like yeah, being skilled but also being pretty fucking lucky. She gets through.
Agreed.
um all right. Next episode?
Next episode, the price.
Episode 6, The Price. This is the flashback episode. We jump through Ellie's birthdays over the 5 years her and Joel have been in Jackson, and we see the deterioration of their relationship centered around Ellie's suspicion that Joel lied about what happened in Salt Lake, and we build towards the start of their reconciliation, or the episode builds towards their reconciliation on New Year's Eve
Mhm.
that we see. Um, let's start right at the beginning. We get another one of these opening world building scenes with a little bit of backstory. We see Joel and Tommy as kids. We meet their dad, Javier Miller. They
Mhm.
don't say his name in the show, but he's credited as Javier
Mm.
Miller, played by Tony Dalton, just great from Better
Yeah.
Call Saul. Guy's awesome and like really looks the part. Like
Yeah,
he looks like he could be Joel's dad or Pedro Pascal's dad.
totally.
Um, yeah, what'd you think of the addition of this?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it made for an incredibly powerful full circle, at the end of the episode. That
Mhm.
whole line about, "When you have one of your own, I hope you do better than me, a little bit
Yeah.
better than me." I was like, "Oh, yeah, that
And I
hit."
wonder if we're gonna have that come back in some
Mm,
way when we get
truth.
to Ellie raising, like, co-parenting,
A
oh my
bebe,
what is
as Catherine O'Hara would say.
what's Dina's child's name? Uh,
JJ.
JJ, yep.
Wow, are you even a real gamer? I'm just
I
kidding.
know, fake
Um,
gamer.
you wrote, "Is this the best episode of The Last of Us? Question mark, question mark. Say more."
I mean, I think it might be like, I think this might be the best in terms of quality.
Mm,
I don't know if it's my favorite. I
mhm,
haven't, like, done that thought yet, like, tried to figure that out yet.
mhm.
But in terms of, I think the structure that they give of the vignettes moving through the birthdays, I think the acting all throughout this episode is fucking top
Ugh,
notch. They stick the landing with the tie back to the opening scene that you
Mhm.
just referenced. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I personally have any complaints about this episode. People
Yeah.
do, but I don't know if I
Well, fuck them.
I mean, what do you think? Do you think this is the best episode of The Last of Us?
It's
I
definitely
think
up
they're
there.
gonna submit this one for awards. Like, this is gonna be the one that they submit.
I think
This is the
everyone deserves an
equivalent.
Oscar. Or sorry, an Emmy.
I mean, I think this is the equivalent of the, oh my god, what's the prepper's name? I'm
The
really not a
prepper.
gamer. What
The
Nick
prepper.
Offerman's character in the previous
Oh,
season.
oh, yeah, yeah,
Bill and
yeah.
Frank. This is the
Bill.
equivalent of the Bill and Frank episode
Mhm. Mhm.
for
Yeah.
this season.
Mhm. I mean, it was a lovely break in action. Like, I do love a nice domestic, like, "What's going on?" Like it felt like a hidden cutscene or something. Like, I liked seeing the fill-in of what was going on the 5 years they were in Jackson. I do agree it's up there. I think it was the best episode of the season. I think it may very well be the best. I agree. It's really good. And I was crying at the end, and I
Mhm.
was clutching my pearls. So
Well, let's talk more about
yeah.
how those pearls were
Oh my god,
clutched.
Pedro Pascal's single tear falling down his cheek, when they're laying in the space shuttle and he's watching
Yes.
Ellie pretend to take off. Apparently, that was
Not
totally
scripted.
unscripted,
Yeah.
and he
Okay.
was just so connected with Bella, and so in the scene that he, like,
Yeah.
cried.
Yeah, I read that too. Let's talk more about that scene in just 1 second. We need the slightest of breaks. I need the slightest of break.
Yeah.
Sorry, I drank a bunch of water.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be right back. And we're back. Sorry about that, everyone. Just the quickest of bathroom breaks. Yeah, let's talk about the scene at the museum. This, like, a lot of that was pretty straight out of the game.
Mhm.
A lot of that was, especially everything that happened once they got to the Apollo. The wasn't it an Apollo? Anyway, when they got to the
Yeah.
space shuttle,
Mhm.
and climbed inside. What a beautiful scene. It's so good in the game too. I mean, in the
Yeah.
game, you get to like linger in it more.
Mhm.
Because you got your hands on the sticks, you're exploring. It also is a flashback that happens later in the game after Joel has died, and so you're getting to like revisit Joel, um, which it serves the same purpose here too, like bringing Pedro back for an
Yeah.
episode, um, being reminded of just, like, him and Bella Ramsey have great is I think chemistry is the right word, even though it's
Yeah.
not romantic chemistry, but, like,
No,
they play
just
off of each other so
yeah.
well,
Mhm.
so well.
They do. You
They
feel the
just
love.
when they're in scenes together, you can tell they are both making each other, like, better actors,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
in real
For
time.
real, for real.
Um, just really, really good stuff.
From a, like, story standpoint, I thought I don't know, seeing that museum, it made me think, like, if I was a kid and I was living through the apocalypse and then I went to this place and there were all these cool, like, statues and exhibits, I would also be, like, floored. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, wow, what is this structure that humans made in the before times that was
Mhm.
just for fun and learning? Like, this is
Yeah.
wild. I
Yeah.
don't know, that part charmed me.
Absolutely. I love the dialogue that the 2 of them have as they're approaching the museum. Um, we get, oh, yeah, Joel and this is in the game too, but Joel being like, "Is there something going on between you and Jesse?" I got a
Oh,
keen eye for
yeah.
these sorts of things, and just Bella's delivery of the chuckle and, like, "I don't think you do."
Yeah.
"Has anyone talked to you about the birds and the bees?" And she goes, "You mean dicks and vaginas?" And or vagines as I have in my notes. Anyway, she says, "You mean dicks and vaginas?" And the Pedro, the wait, the, like, turn back and the what? And the, like, stumble when she says that is, like, just really good.
Yeah.
Um, really good stuff. Uh, I loved getting to we got the scene right before that of Ellie's 15th birthday. First of all, we get the reveal that Seth used to be a cop. No fucking shocker there.
Yeah.
"Oh, you mean the town bigot used to be a cop? Hmm, surprised. Color me
What?
surprised." It doesn't make any sense. Um, anyway, uh, we get to see, Joel, uh, play Future Days for Ellie when he gives her the guitar,
Mhm.
that song that he wrote himself. Um, but Pedro's, performance of the song, really impressed me because of how, like, raw and amateur it sounds. I don't know if that's, like,
Yeah.
what Pedro like, I don't know if Pedro can sing better than that. And this
Mhm.
is no shade to Pedro Pascal. The guy can do so many things. If he can't sing, then, like, oh well. Like,
Keeps him humble.
yeah, it keeps him humble. But so I don't know if he was pretending not to be able to sing or if he really couldn't sing. But him not being a great singer made the scene even more touching to me
Mhm.
personally and made the performance more raw. And as much as I like, the performance that Troy Baker gives of Joel doing that song in the game, I actually felt that Pedro's performance of it was a bit more powerful because of it not feeling as high quality, like,
Yeah.
Troy Baker can actually really sing,
Totally.
and so he just brings something different to that
Yeah.
moment in the yeah, so, loved that.
Yeah.
Uh What do you think of the comments that Joel makes when he walks in on Ellie on her 17th birthday, and she's making out with Kat, smoking some marijuana,
Mhm.
and, just got a tattoo?
Mhm.
He tells her that he says, "Oh, you're doing all the teenager things at once, drugs, tattoos, experimenting with girls."
Mhm.
And Ellie rightfully gets pretty mad at him, says that
Yeah.
it wasn't a fucking experiment.
Mhm.
And he tells her, "We'll talk about this later when you're more yourself."
Right.
Um, I feel like it tracks that Joel would at least have some internalized homophobia and be surprised in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
But I definitely saw a lot of takes online of people being mad that they made Joel homophobic.
I
Um,
mean, he's he he's a, like, late 50s-year-old guy in the apocalypse who had previously been, like, living in Texas. Like,
mhm,
I honestly felt like he's also not queer. We don't
mhm,
know how much queerness was a part of his life.
mhm.
So, like, I thought it was a very realistic reaction from a parent Like,
Yeah.
that's like a knee jerk, like, "Oh my god, all of this stuff is happening. I've gotta put a
Yeah.
stop to this. I'm overwhelmed by the amount of debauchery that I just walked in on. This is not what the little girl that I knew anymore." That is like a very normal knee jerk reaction. Do I
Yeah.
think it's like I mean, maybe I shouldn't say normal. An ex I would
It's an
expect
expected.
it's an
Yeah.
expected reaction.
Considering his what we assume was his upbringing, what he lived through, where he was
Exactly,
from.
exactly.
That doesn't
I
make
don't
it
think it's
okay. It's
good,
yeah, it's
yeah.
not like we're like, "It's great."
Yeah, all
Joel
parents should be like this.
yeah,
No,
that's the right
uh,
way to handle it,
I
but
think the
it's
fact
believable.
yeah, it's believable, and we see over the course of the show, we even see earlier in this season that he has grown from
Yeah.
this perspective.
Yeah, when
So,
he bodies Seth in the first episode after Seth,
absolutely.
you know, insults Ellie and Dina at the dance hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't it is homophobic what he said.
Yeah.
I would not say that they've, like, assassinated his character or, like, turned him into a homophobe. I think, like, it's a unfortunately realistic depiction, and I was appreciating, if anything, seeing that he had grown from that time, and
Mhm.
it was almost kind of funny to me, honestly, of like, "Oh god, like, you're so clueless."
Yeah.
Like, I kinda chuckled at that.
Mhm.
I don't know. I've seen it hurt a lot worse from my own parents, so this was a
Yeah.
walk in the park for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I don't need to rehash it. I really love the scene, that happens after that evening of the 17th birthday.
Oh, that broke my
Ellie
heart.
in the middle of the storm, Ellie's trying to move her bed out of the house because she wants to go live in the garage now. Joel wakes up, because she's thumping a fucking mattress around against her door
Mhm,
frame, so of course he wakes up, and they have a little back and forth, and he starts coming in really hot, like, "What are you
mhm.
doing? Like, put this back in, like, you're not gonna do this in my house." I can't remember the exact line that he has, but it's something to the effect of, "You're not gonna behave this way in my house." And Ellie's like, "It's not your house, like, they gave it to us
Mhm,
when we came to live here. Nobody you don't own anything."
mhm.
And that really it deflates or I don't deflate isn't the right word. It de-escalates the situation. He recognizes, like, how much old-headed shit he's throwing around at
Yeah.
this person who isn't even his, like not that it would make it right anyway, but not even actually related to him, not his
Mhm,
blood daughter, like someone he's known for 5 years that
mhm.
he's taken in. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know, I thought that was the the way like, even just one scene later, I feel like he's recognizing that he fucked up by coming in as hot as he did, and that he needs to back off and give
Yeah.
Ellie some space. And I
Yeah.
think that, like, shows what a lot of people, argue about Joel is that he's not a perfect father, but, like,
Mhm.
he is trying to be a good dad. And I
Yeah.
think he succeeds a lot of the time. I think that's one of the examples that he did. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
and people say shit in the heat of the moment and get mad, but he walks it back. He tries to change it, and
Does she say in that scene, like, "You're not my dad"? Or does she say, like, "Is it just that you don't own anything?"
I think it's just that you don't own anything.
Okay, because like yeah, like, she's not I mean, blood doesn't matter when it comes to, like, parenting and childing.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, like, what I took from that scene was, he was suddenly because of being reminded that he doesn't own any like,
Mhm.
no parent owns their child to begin with,
Yeah.
but I felt like I could feel his fear that if he
Mm.
kept pushing, he was gonna lose her entirely, and
Yeah.
so he felt like, "Okay, like, I'm gonna let her have her space because if I don't, like,
Mhm.
I might totally lose her."
Yeah.
Anyway, I was sad for everybody in that scene.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good scene, but it's the beginning of the deep fracture that we're gonna
Yeah.
watch play out in their relationship. Then we for some reason skip her 18th birthday. Nothing important happened there. And we jump to the 19th birthday where she gets to go out on her first patrol with Joel. and we get the amazing fucking scene with, Joe Pantoliano playing Eugene,
Mhm.
Gail's husband. I mean, he's in this episode for, like, 5 minutes. He fucking dominates it. His
Mhm.
performance, like, standing on the edge of the cliff, when the camera's just, like, real close up on his face and Joel, tells him first he breaks down saying he wants to see Gail because he wants to hear her last words for him, not
Yeah.
the other way around. Um, and then, says, "I just wanna see my wife's face," and Joel's like, if you love somebody, you can always see their face. Fuck you, Joel.
Mhm.
But he
Yeah.
stands there and he stares out at the scenery and just Joe's face just like
Mhm.
shifting and then finally being like, I see her. And then Joel puts him down. Ugh, what a
Ugh,
heartbreaking fucking
so
scene.
fucked up. I feel like for me, that scene really, like, you know, Ellie saying to Joel, like, "Please, like, don't kill him. Let me go get the
He has
horses.
time. Yeah.
He has time. We'll go back together." Like, that was her starting to try to extend an olive branch of like, okay, like I want to talk to him about what happened in Salt Lake City. We're going to get to that. I'm going to try to trust him again.
Mhm.
And this is a similar situation where I'm walking away or closing my eyes and I'm going to trust that he's gonna do what he says and things will still be here when I come back. She comes back, he's killed the guy. He has no uh real remorse. Like he feels justified in the choice he made, even though, in my opinion, they could I know it was protocol, but like I feel like they could have um I don't know. I at least
Yeah.
tried. It's like just tie him up, and then if he turns before you get there, then you kill him then. But
Yeah.
I could feel Ellie's heartbreak in that again, she feels like this wasn't just Joel breaking a promise like to try to give Eugene more time. This was Joel like repeating the trauma of
Mhm.
um, you know, killing in
Yeah, and lying to
and
her about it
lying,
in
yeah,
because he thinks like, Joel thinks he's doing a kindness
right,
in sparing Ellie the weight of that decision.
right.
Um, and I think that's, it's that she's being lied to, it's that he turns and looks at her in a very similar way,
Mhm,
that, she's already thinking so much about Salt Lake, and I think it's just confirmation that, like, yeah, he would lie to me about something else,
mhm,
like, to try to make me feel better. He would lie
yeah.
about it.
I
And
did
so
think oh, sorry, you go.
no, what were you gonna say?
Like, also think Ellie was incredibly selfish in the
Mm.
way that she,
Oh, yeah.
um, like, confronts Joel about this in the
Yeah.
sense that they get back to Jackson.
Mhm.
Joel has this whole kind story for Gail, Eugene's wife,
Which he takes
Catherine
too
O'Hara.
far. Like, he takes it too far.
Oh, yeah, he lays it on thick, where
Very
he's like,
thick.
"Oh, he, he wanted you to know he loves you, and he took his own life out as a hero," and Ellie is like, "Lies! Like, he's making
Yeah.
this up, like, he begged for his life, everything was terrible, Joel shot him in the face, like, it
Mhm.
sucks also, like, Joel, you swore you wouldn't do that." Storms off, Gail is sobbing in Tommy's arms, like, I mean, that was pretty fucked up too, like, "Ellie,
Oh,
this
yeah.
was so selfish of you, um, and bratty."
Yeah.
So
I think they're both, like, showcasing their own cruelty and their own selfishness
yeah.
in the back-to-back scenes of what happens to Eugene and then the telling of it to Gail. Um, why does Joel lie about it? He doesn't wanna argue with Ellie about it. Like, I think you can have the conversation of, like, should they follow protocol or should they have fudged it like Ellie wanted them to and brought Eugene back? And, like, I think, there's definitely an argument for Joel being, quote, "in the right," but
Mhm,
where he's wrong is that he lied about it again. Like, Ellie was there in the capacity as his patrol partner, and they should have made that
Mhm.
decision together and followed through on it together. And instead, he like spares her from it by
Mhm.
lying to her, avoiding the conversation, avoiding having to like deal with what he's, to like have that, but that back and forth and actually defend his point with her. And instead just removes her from the situation by lying and then does it anyway. And then to Gail, it's like, he's not wrong that you don't necessarily have to tell her the whole truth of what happened, that, you know, there's what she needs to know to move on. Not wrong about that, but he takes it a little bit too far. Really, like,
Mhm.
yeah, like you said, laying it on thick. And then, yeah, it's cruel of Ellie to call him on that right in front of Gail and just make it all about her. And, Ellie's
Yeah.
not calling him on that because she thinks
Right.
Gail deserves to know the
No.
truth. That's
Yeah.
not what's happening there. Ellie's
No.
pissed that he lied again, that he lied to her.
Yeah.
She sees him doing to Gail what he did to her once, of like
Mhm.
laying it on thick and telling her a story. And yeah, so it's all
Yeah.
about her emotions. That's so
Yeah.
they're both assholes.
Yeah.
um But some great acting, from both of I noted in particular in my notes, like Bella's face as they're riding back to Jackson, like,
Mhm.
just the 100-mile stare with, like, the tear rolling down. Great. Um, then we get to the final scene of the episode where, it's New Year's Eve. It's after the dance. Well, we see the dance hall scene from Joel's perspective, and then he leaves, goes back to his house, sits on his porch. And in the first episode, what we saw is that Ellie came home and just walked right past him and went to the garage, and we believed that to be the last interaction the two ever had before he died. Um, but here we see the extended version, which is that Ellie comes back up the porch and they have a conversation. She finally confronts him about what happened in Salt Lake City
Mhm.
and tells him, if he doesn't tell her the truth, she is not gonna have anything else to do with him, and he admits what he did, and the scene closes with her saying, "I don't think I can forgive you, but I wanna try." And so they
Yeah.
reconcile to some extent, or at least they begin the first step of reconciliation after 9 months of really not interacting with each other. And this scene is actually a combination of 2 scenes from the game. So in the game, Ellie confronts Joel about what he did in a completely separate scene where she actually like tries to go back to Salt Lake and he intercepts her and they yell in a field at each other. And that's where he finally
Hmm.
admits what he did. And then that happens and then there's like the 9 months or whatever of them not talking. And then on New Year's Eve, she comes back to the porch and says, "Hey, like I don't know if I can forgive you, but I'm willing to try."
Mhm.
So there's a significant time gap between Joel confirming what happened and her saying, "Maybe one day I can forgive you." In the show, they truncate that. Um, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that change. Although it seems like maybe you didn't remember those were
I
2 separate scenes
forgot.
in the game. So maybe you won't have as much to say about this.
No,
But I guess
yeah.
maybe just from the
What do
lens
you
of
have to
like,
say? Yeah.
I'm super okay with it. I think it's been another thing that people have kind of picked apart, like, "Oh, they really changed this from the game." Um, I think that I don't think if Ellie like, for me, the scene with Eugene, which is, wholly new. We don't get that in Eugene is a character that's referenced in the game, but there's no Gale. He's not married to any, there's no wife that he has left behind. There's no allusion to Joel being the one to kill Eugene, like, none of that. Like, he's just a character that's already died before the game begins that had, a bunch of weed growing in a convenience store. I think it's like I don't know, it's not even a convenience store in the game. So that scene was entirely crafted for the show of like teeing up this lie to happen and for them to that all to come to a head. I read that scene when Ellie leaves it, when she says, "You swore,"
Yeah.
which first of all, technically in when they were talking about Eugene, I think he said, "I promise." He didn't say, "I swear." He said, "I swear," when they came back to Jackson from Salt Lake,
Right.
and she asked him again. That was when he said, "I swear." And
Mhm.
so I think in that moment, what we're supposed to read is that Ellie knows then, like she's fully convinced that Joel lied to her. She doesn't know
Right.
all the details, but she's already been suspecting it for a long time. We saw her, like, prepping to ask him questions about it, and she leaves that scene being like, "He fucking lied about it. I know
Yeah.
he did."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so when she comes back to the porch, she already knows that he's lied.
Mhm.
She already knows in her gut. It's just about what she says to him, which is like, "If you confirm like, if you wanna have a relationship with me, you need to tell me the truth now." And
Mhm.
so for me, the scene on the porch then becomes more about, or it's all about him, like, basically being willing to be vulnerable with her, admit that he did lie about these things, tell her the truth, but it's less about her revelation. Like, she knew all that in her bones. Like, he's just
Yeah,
confirming
she
something she already
knew
knew.
that.
And so the fact that she doesn't then take several more months to process that before coming back and saying, "Maybe I can forgive you," for me, that works in the context of the
Yeah.
show. I think in the game, those scenes feel a little bit different, and so her needing that space from him after, like, she's still trying to learn what happened in a way that I think she already kinda knows. Like, in the game, when she goes to Salt Lake, she's still really trying to look for answers,
Mm.
or at least that's how it's depicted. Like, it's not as much of, like, her suspicions aren't as clear
Hmm.
in the game,
Yeah.
and so it plays as more of, like, her actually learning the information and then needing time to process it. Whereas in the show, it feels more like she knew it. She's
Yeah.
known it this whole time. She's
Yeah.
deeply suspected it. Um, he confirms it, and so she's able to, like, offer him that olive branch in the same moment
Yeah.
because him admitting to it was him reaching across the aisle as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I think similarly, I feel like you said, like, she knew that he was lying, and I think what was eating at her was like, why? Why did he do it? Why did he lie?
yeah,
And
that's
I
a great
think,
point.
like, because she loves him, this confirmation that he did it out of love for her kind of helps her accept, like, okay, it could be anything. Like, he could be evil, he could be trying to use me in some way. Like, I don't know, like, why did he do it? But I think hearing it from him, just this confirmation and reaffirmation of their bond,
Mhm.
it's like, it makes sense to me that she would be like, I do wanna try to forgive, like, because she has all along. It's like it's hurting her too to not be close to him,
Yeah.
and we see that in that scene that, like, it's been hurting her just as much as it has been him.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. That scene is so well acted, though.
yeah.
So fucking good. Like, that's gonna be the one they sent. Like,
Mhm.
this scene and Peter and Bell fucking.
They did that.
Alright, we have 1 episode left.
Okay, oh my
We
god.
said we were not gonna make a 2-hour podcast, and we are making a 2-hour podcast. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I tried my best, and it wasn't very good. Episode 7, Convergence, the final episode. Ellie admits to Dina what Joel did in Salt Lake and the connection to Abby and her crew. They decide to leave Seattle and go home. Jesse and Ellie go looking for Tommy, but split up when Ellie figures out that Abby is at the Seattle Aquarium. The WLF are preparing an attack against the Seraphites, and it is very dark and stormy. Ellie steals a boat to get to the aquarium, but she ends up wrecked on an island full of Seraphites. She's nearly killed, but is set free when the Seraphites village is attacked by the WLF, presumably. She makes it to the aquarium where she confronts and kills Owen and Mel. Tommy and Jesse find her and bring her back to the theater. While they're preparing to leave, Abby arrives. She knocks out Tommy, kills Jesse, and holds Ellie at gunpoint. She pulls the trigger before the episode cuts to black and then reopens on Abby at the WLF base. And the text on the screen says Seattle Day 1.
Whoa. What?
A real okey doke that they pull on
Oh,
us in the
yeah.
game too.
Mhm,
When
mhm.
I hit that moment in the game, when you get the gunshot fires, cut to black, and now we're Abby. I played for like 10 minutes and then just put the controller down and stared at the
Same.
game for a
I
long
was
time.
like, "What the fuck?"
It was like I was in shock. I was like, I'm gonna be Ellie again here real quick, right? It's just a little scene. And you just
Yeah.
you keep going, you're like, oh no. Oh
Oh,
no,
yeah.
what have they done?
Mhm.
And I was so mad. Oh,
Oh,
I was so
yeah.
mad. I didn't want to play as Abby. Why would I want to
No.
fucking play as Abby? Cut to me today. I love Abby.
Oh, yeah, favorite character,
Yeah,
hands down.
pretty close.
My girl,
It's
my girl.
hard for me to pick a favorite, but Abby's pretty fucking close.
That delivery of, like, "I let you live and you wasted
Wasted it.
it."
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, I think about that all
Kate
the time.
Caitlin rocked it too. It's so good in the game. It was so good in the show.
So good.
One thing that wasn't in the game that they put in the show is Ellie. They actually showed us Ellie admitting to Dina why Abby and her crew came after Joel, and like what
Yeah,
happened in Salt Lake City. I'm really racking my brain. I know for sure that that moment does not happen at
it does
that
not.
scene in the game, but I don't think we see it in the game at all.
She never tell I double checked this. She never
Okay.
tells Dina in the game.
That is wild, and also,
Yeah,
like, just further speaks to, like, how fucked Ellie is, but,
yeah.
like,
So, yeah.
yeah, I don't know, I love that they included it here. I love that Dina, like, is like, "Oh, well, shit. Like,
Mhm,
I'm hurt, I'm pregnant, this whole thing has gone tits up,
mhm.
and, like, maybe he fucking deserved it. We need to go.
Yeah,
We need to
yeah,
go. We need to go home."
yeah. Like,
We
this change was a lot for me. I think so
In a good way,
okay.
or, like, what do you
Uh,
mean?
in a it it was a lot.
In a way.
In a way. So, like, in the game,
Mhm,
Ellie writes in her journal, like, "I
mhm,
can't like, should I tell Dina and Jesse
mm,
about Joel?" And then she writes, like, "No, I can't tell anyone ever, like, they wouldn't understand." So she never tells them.
okay.
Um, this, I think, absolutely contributes to this is definitely one of Ellie's wrongs, game Ellie's wrongs. It's like, so everyone is forever, like, half informed about why they're even going on this journey,
Yeah,
and they're unknowingly signing up for what is kind of an unfair ask, like,
yeah,
Joel fucking deserved it, honestly.
mhm.
Like, I mean, we can argue about that all day long, but, like, it's
I
not as
no,
cut and
he
dry
yeah,
as it as you're making it out to be. Like, this wasn't just a random hit. Like, this totally changes the reason for doing this.
yeah,
So, in the show, it I think it's the better moral decision for show Ellie to tell Dina the truth,
mhm,
and I have a really hard time at this juncture, seeing how Ellie and Dina's relationship will recover from this because, I mean, this is like, why the fuck are we here? Like, you're telling me he killed. I opened up to you about how my mother and sister were brutally murdered. You're telling me like Joel wasn't just murdered by some like rebel force. Like he f- he killed these. He did to Abby what happened to my parents, Dina. Like,
mhm.
I have a hard time seeing how Dina and Ellie are gonna come back from this, like, as a couple, at least in the way they are now. Truly, I'm like, this feels
Yeah,
major.
that's an interesting
Um
point. I mean, Dina extends the olive branch before the episode's even over. Like, in that scene, she rolls over on her side and, like, she's clearly, like, irritated that Ellie withheld this information from her. She's feeling really conflicted about why she's even there, like, that's all really obvious from the scene. But
mhm,
then when Ellie and Jesse go out to find Tommy, she specifically comes out, and I think
gives her the
specifically
bracelet.
and gives her the bracelet, and I think it is meant to we're supposed to read that as a, like, almost like what Ellie said to Joel of like, I don't know if I can forgive you, but I wanna try, and, like,
Mhm,
here's this, like, olive branch that I'm extending. I still care about you, don't die, kind of
mhm,
a thing, like, I'm not so mad that I'm not gonna hope that you come back. So,
yeah,
I think they're already setting up, but, like, yeah, I think it's a good point, like, what's Dina's are we even gonna see that? Because by the time we get back to it, it's gonna be, like, probably at the earliest, late season 3.
ugh,
How much are
yeah,
people gonna be thinking about how that landed for Dina and how she's rationalizing it, um, and what keeps her
yeah.
and Ellie together after that? Like, how do you move past something like that?
Yeah, and I I think too, how do we move past that? I think when Dina says we need to go home, Ellie's not fighting her on that. Like, what I
No.
saw from Ellie in that scene is like yeah, like what is this? What are we doing? So to me, this whole first half of the episode, I'm kind of like, what something is going to have to happen to drive Ellie to want to come back after Abby, because Abby is absolutely right. Coming being like, you kill all my friends, like what the fuck? Like Ellie, I think, is feeling the remorse too. I mean, she just fucking killed Mel after realizing that
Nora
Mel
at this point.
Nora,
I mean, she does kill Mel later in the episode, but sorry, I thought you were still talking about the
oh,
scene where she admits to
sorry.
Dina about the
You're right.
yeah.
Sorry. You're right. I'm jumping ahead. Sorry. At the end of the episode, after everything that has happened,
Yeah.
Ellie is clearly like, this. I mean, it feels to me like her character is like, this has been a mistake. So I guess I don't know. I have some end of the episode thoughts, but maybe I'm skipping ahead. Like,
No, I mean, like, we can talk about it. I think, it's a delicate line, and I don't know if it I don't know if it I feel like they try to thread this needle in the game a bit too. Like, Ellie is impacted by these deaths that she's causing in the cutscenes of the game. She clearly, like, after she kills Mel, she has like, she comes back to the theater after, the interaction with Nora and clearly feels, like, very guilt-stricken and,
mhm,
like, overwhelmed by what she's just done. Like, she has those moments, and yet, when the opportunity to keep pursuing Abby comes up, she doesn't hesitate to take it. And they're
true,
doing the same thing in the show of, like,
true.
that's part of what's so devastating about watching it play in the game, and particularly being on the sticks for it, is like, you're like, "Ellie, quit doing this to yourself, hun," and she
Mm,
just keeps doing it.
mm,
And I think, uh yeah, I think reasonable people can disagree about whether or not we believe that someone who is feeling this degree of remorse would keep making the choice to pursue it.
mhm,
Um, and that's where it kinda comes down to, like, have they made her character is like because of the changes they've made to the character, is it still believable that this version of Ellie is gonna keep fucking beating her head against the wall?
right.
So far, it has worked for me in the season because, again, when you know, yeah, she has that moment with Dina, and it's like it's not like she's like, "Yeah, definitely, let's go home," but you can tell
Mhm,
she's like, "Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe this is a bad fucking idea." Then her and Tommy go out or sorry, her and Jesse go to get Tommy, and then, but at that point when she has the moment with Dina, she doesn't know where to look for Abby, but then she puts
mhm,
it together while she's out with Tommy. It's like as soon as she sees the option,
yeah.
the possibility that she could get Abby, her focus shifts, and she's like, "Never mind, that's what I'm gonna do."
Selfish.
It is selfish. It mostly works for me within the context of these episodes, but I
Mhm,
do still have concerns about the future. Like,
mhm,
yeah, how do we get her back to Santa Barbara in a believable way?
mhm. Yeah. No, I think selfish in the sense that, she and Jesse are in the middle of this Seraphite wolf shootout. Tommy is obviously in trouble. Ellie already lost Joel, and
Mhm.
yet she's willing to potentially let a cornered Tommy and Jesse eat it because
Yeah.
she wants to go find Abby.
Mhm.
This is where things start. I think I loved this episode, and also I think things started to crack a little bit for me in terms of what is going on with Ellie
Yeah.
mentally. It
Yeah, I
seems like
agree with
she's
that.
very torn about why she's there. She's starting to regret kind of the the trauma is piling up, and yet we have seen a kinder, softer, more human Ellie throughout the course of this season and in general this show, and yet when it seems like Jesse and Tommy are in mortal danger and Dina is wounded, and we know from this show that wounds are a much more serious thing. Like, that whole scene with the arrow getting pulled out of her leg
Yeah.
was
Ugh.
rough.
Well,
It's a bit shocking to me that this show Ellie is willing to lose everything just
mhm.
to get Abby. Um, I don't
Yeah.
know, it
No, I agree with that. I think they start to kind of all the choices that they made and how they characterize Ellie are starting to kind of bite them in the ass a little bit, and they're
Mhm.
kind of trying to tell us who we should think Ellie is, but it all doesn't quite add up. Um, we get the scene of Ellie and Jesse, like, hiding out in the parking garage, and the wolves drag in a Seraphite kid, and Ellie wants to run out and, like, save him because it's just a kid.
Mhm.
And then she's mad at Jesse because he holds her back because they would have died
Mhm.
100%. Um, and then, when Tommy's getting shot at and she, like, is like, "Oh, you don't know that's Tommy," but, like,
Yes.
we know
Girl,
it's
what?
Tommy. Like, she's just using that as an excuse, and that moment works
Mhm.
in the game because she is a lying, selfish asshole, and
Mhm.
she is just like, "Oh, it's probably not Tommy," like, we've gotta
Yeah.
keep going because we've seen her keep making that decision over and over again, no
Yes.
matter what the stakes are, to keep pursuing Abby, but this is kind of
Yes.
the first time that there's really, like, she's really confronted with the decision that it doesn't happen totally on impulse. She
Yeah.
has someone there telling her, like, "No, there's this other thing that we need to go do," and she makes the decision to go after Abby, and as much as I like the dialogue that her and Jesse have, they're like Jesse admits that I love the characterization that they add to Jesse too.
Mhm.
Like, I was always a little, like, in the game, it's like, why is Jesse just going along with this woman? Like, even,
Mhm.
Dina's in love with her. So it's like, Dina, you
Sure.
fool. Like, what are you doing? Like, this girl's going to drive you to ruin. But like with Jesse, it's like, dude, like, you don't even have the excuse of like being in
Mhm.
love with this person. Like, you can't see she's being like batshit. So I
Yeah.
love that they like added the depth to Jesse's character of like he didn't vote to go to Seattle.
Yeah.
He doesn't think they should be there. And he says, I didn't vote. And she's like, why? And he's like, well, because it wasn't in the interest of in the community. And she like fucking crashes out and is like, fuck the community. I love that scene. I love Bella's performance. But then they try to make it about like, oh, a minute ago, Jesse, that kid wasn't part of your community,
Mhm.
so you wouldn't help him. I'm just like, I don't quite buy that, like, this idea that Ellie would save a kid. Like, I don't know. I didn't need that. I didn't
Yeah.
need you
Yeah.
muddying this idea. And that scene would have still fucking worked if it's just like, she's just like, fuck the community. Joel was my community. And I had to watch him be beat to death in front of me.
Yeah.
Um, that would have played better for me, and we just lose that Seraphite WLFC like that.
Mhm.
I don't know what they were trying to do with that. But then when we get to the end of the episode, when her and Jesse are chit-chatting in the theater before Jesse gets his face
Yeah.
blown off, he has this line about, "I came back for you to the aquarium with Tommy because, I knew if I was out there, like, hurt and alone." Did I have that whole line written down?
Mhm.
Hold on, I wanna read it. But also the thought did occur, if I were out there somewhere lost and in trouble, you would set the world on fire to save me. Would she? We just saw her not give 2 shits that Tommy was in that situation.
Right.
So, that's a little bit of like, okay, you're telling me that's what this Ellie would do. Eh,
Is
like,
it?
maybe if you were right in front of her, it's like she's like a goldfish, like, and she has
Yeah.
to be able to see it to think about it in this
Yeah.
version of Ellie. Like, it's
Yeah.
almost like she can't process the abstract idea of Tommy being in danger. I don't know. They've muddled it a little bit, I think. I do think. And I thought the last episode was unfortunately like the messiest out of everything that came before it.
Mhm.
That characterization stuff with the Seraphite kid was weird to me. Um, and we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but there's a scene that's been ripped to shreds, where when Ellie first gets in the boat and tries to go to the aquarium, her boat gets like flipped over and she washes up on Seraphite Island
Mm.
and gets dragged in by the Seraphites, and they're about to like ritualistically kill her, and then horn blows in the distance and they leave her behind because the village is being attacked. I can understand. I can understand what they wanted to convey with that scene. This idea that Ellie gets yet another chance to stop.
Mm.
She
Okay.
escapes death another time,
Sure.
and she
Okay.
still keeps going after Abby.
Yeah.
But it didn't hit for me. It didn't
I
hit, and
kind
it broke
of
up the momentum I felt of her
yeah.
going out to the aquarium. But what did you think about the scene? Because I
Yeah,
know
no,
you didn't have as much of an issue with it.
I thought it was a fun callback to the game for the gamers, Among Us because it was a
TM.
scene that famously had been cut from the game where Ellie visits Seraphite Island. So I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's a fun kinda, like, callback to that." I totally agree, it cuts up the action and or the momentum, and, it's a pretty pivotal scene in Abby's storyline where she gets captured by the Seraphites,
Yeah.
she's strung up, and she's almost disemboweled, and
Yeah, I
it's
feel like
like a
they've
very
undercut how powerful that
intense.
scene has the potential to be when we see it,
Yeah, it's like we've
but
already seen this, so
yeah.
are we gonna see it again, I guess? Like, it kind of just
Yeah.
felt like, "Oh, okay." Um, so that kinda disappointed me,
And I feel
but
like the same thing could have been accomplished, like, part of what they wanted to do there, I think, too, was, like, helping us understand where the WLF were going, what they were doing. I
sure.
think, like, it's like, fucking trust your audience a little bit. We
Right.
saw the WLF load up in the boats, they're talking about attacking the Seraphites. I mean, they're
Mhm.
talking about a big attack. It's
Mhm.
obviously against the Seraphites. We see them load up in the boats. As Ellie is in the rowboat, just a fucking shot of the island with bombs going off. Done.
Right.
You've accomplished the same thing. We understand that they're attacking the island at the same time
Yeah.
she's heading out to the aquarium. The the wash up scene, it's so quick.
Mhm.
It's like she lands and they pull her up and then they string her and then it's like a 2-minute thing that they've cut down because they had no time to do anything more with it. That just feels you're like, oh, I got whiplash. She's back in the boat, and
Mhm.
then she just runs right back out to the boat. I don't know. Didn't
Yeah.
work for me. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure that there was another scene in here that didn't quite work for me. The one we get of Isaac at the Costco at the
The
WLF base.
fucking wolf Costco made me
The
laugh.
I love it. I think it's great that the wolves have taken over a Costco. No notes there.
Yeah.
But we get this like weird scene where they just want us to know that Abby is both A, missing, and
Mm.
B, uh that she's really important.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just so it
Like,
was
Isaac
just
being like, "Abby's the future of
yeah,
the
yeah,
wolves." Yeah, that
yeah. I'm
was
just like, it just felt is so oddly placed.
mhm.
I'm like, we should really just be with Ellie right now, I think,
Yeah.
and let the WLF stuff happen in the background and then show us what's going on next time. I don't know. Uh it they were trying to do so much with this episode, and it just kinda cuts between things so quickly that it's tough. But then, like, I think they fucking I love the Owen and Mel scene. I have no
Mm.
problems with the way that played out. I know I in the game, Ellie shoots Owen, and then Mel attacks her, and Ellie ends up
Mhm.
stabbing Mel in the neck while Mel is fighting her. So
Mhm.
even in the game, Ellie does not just brutally murder Mel for no reason.
Mhm.
It's not accidental, but it's in self-defense.
Right.
In the show, they changed it up so that it's an accidental killing instead of
Mhm.
self-defense. And some folks have, like, been arguing that that takes some of, like, the violence of Ellie's character away, like, blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
I thought that scene was really powerful. Again, it continues to illuminate, like, the emotional toll of what this is all taking on Ellie. But
Yeah.
again, the Ellie who's walking away from that, like, I believe that Ellie's gonna go all the way to Santa Barbara. I don't know. I
Heck
don't know.
no.
I don't know.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But man, the Ariel Ella Barber, I think, is the name of the actor that
Ariella yeah.
yeah, is that it? Ariella
Is it
Barber?
you
Oh,
wrote bearer in the notes,
Bearer.
so I
No,
can't
that's
tell.
Bearer's probably right.
Yes, it's bearer.
Okay, Ariella Bearer that plays Mel, like, nailed that scene trying to instruct, Ellie to do an emergency C-section on her
Yeah,
baby
that
while
was
she bleeds out
tragic.
from the neck. Woo!
Yeah,
I was a
that
little
was
annoyed they cut Alice out of this, Alice being the
you wanted
dog.
to watch, Ellie shoot a dog.
Okay, like, I wanted to watch Ellie shoot a dog? No. But, again, when you talk about, like, we're trying to show that she is losing herself to this process, that she is,
Right.
like, on a violent, like, warpath, killing the dog
Yeah,
is, like, one of the things that happens, and also, like, such a you forget about that dog dying until
yeah.
Abby finds it, and, like, it's a really powerful moment when you're playing through as Abby too, and you come in and the dog blood is the first thing that you see, and then
Ugh,
you as the player, you remember what you're about to encounter as you move further into the aquarium. Because first you see the dead dog, and you're not even thinking that that's what you're about to walk in on. You're
Mhm.
playing as Abby, and you already know in the back of your mind somewhere that Ellie killed the dog and Owen and Mel, and you come back to the aquarium as Abby, and first you see the dead dog, and immediately, like, the dread that
Yeah.
hits you as the player of what you're about to walk in on as you go into the next room. Yeah, I think they kinda lost that moment, but it probably wouldn't have hit as well because
Mm.
there's gonna be a whole, like, 2 years between scenes. But yeah, I was a little like, "Oh, no Alice?" Like
Yeah. Now again, it's just yeah, like, I am once again asking, how the hell so this okay.
What?
This is where I get into some of my, like, what's coming next
Yep.
theories,
Okay.
because I
Yeah.
really feel like okay, I guess maybe we should just recap what happens at the end of the episode. Um
Oh, yeah, there's one more thing I wanna complain
oh,
about a
yeah,
little
okay,
bit.
okay, okay, yeah.
Um, we get we get a really nice little moment between Jesse and Ellie, and as much as I feel like Jesse's crazy for thinking Ellie would come save his ass after everything she's exemplified, they have, a nice little heart to heart. They get a nice heart to heart in the bookstore earlier in the episode too. Like
Mhm.
just young Mazzino is so good. And I again just love the depth that they added to Jesse's character in the show. He gets to be angry and complicated and have mixed feelings about his dynamic with Ellie and Dina and have a relationship outside of Dina. Just like he gets to be so much
Yeah,
more than he was in the game. It's great. And so when we lose him, it hits even harder. But,
yeah.
um, they rush out. They hear a noise from the lobby of the theater, and they rush out of the theater. And Jesse immediately, like just like in the game, just that
Ugh.
immediate. The door opens, immediate like bullet to the face, goes down. Ellie ducks behind the counter.
Ugh.
We realize Abby's got Tommy on the ground. We don't know if he's alive or dead. And well, we assume he's alive because she's still pointing the gun at him and she's
Mhm,
threatening to shoot him if Ellie doesn't come out. Ellie
mhm.
immediately surrenders. Abby has the great line, and you can see the rope burn on Abby's neck.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. And then, Abby says, "We let you live and you wasted it." She pulls the trigger, we hear the gunshot. Ellie screams, "No, no, no."
Yeah.
Just why?
Yeah,
Why?
yeah,
Why? Why?
yeah.
Also, like, I saw a video of someone online, like, making, I think, a really strong, like, it bothered me when I saw it in the episode, but I was like, "Whatever." Then somebody online was making the great point of, like, in the game, like, Ellie never begs for her life.
Mhm,
Ellie doesn't think her life has that much value. In
mhm,
fact, it lost value by Joel's actions. Like,
mhm.
that's part of her whole story. It's part of the thing with the moth, and she's obsessed
Right.
with death and, like, feels like she didn't get to fulfill her purpose. So her screaming no at the idea of dying doesn't feel right to me. So I'm
Yeah.
like, unless they were gonna make it that she sees Tommy doing something or Dina
Mhm.
doing something, and that's actually why she's yelling no, that's the only way they can redeem that for me. But
Yeah,
as it was, I was a little bit annoyed. It doesn't ruin the
agreed.
show for me or anything, but I was just like, "Nah, come on." Like, Ellie's not gonna plead for her own life.
Right.
That's She doesn't care enough about her own life. That's part of why she throws herself into these scenarios with
Yeah.
no abandon. Like, she's not concerned about her own. You literally just showed us this when you included that ridiculous Seraphite scene, and she almost died and, like, didn't think about it for even 2 seconds. She just
Mhm.
continued on. Um, so why is
Yeah,
she screaming no at the idea of being killed? Like,
yeah. Ugh.
unless it's a time, like, she pleads for other people's lives. If they show us Ellie's perspective of that scene and she's yelling no because somebody else is in danger, then I'll take back crit
Is this the scene in the game where Tommy gets shot, like, he loses his eye?
Yeah, so what happens in the well, and honestly, I don't think we see, I think what we see in the show is pretty much exactly what we see in the game, minus the no, 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 at this point. And then we cut and we get Abby's perspective, and then we see the full theater scene again at the end of Abby's 3 days in Seattle.
Mhm.
And at that point, we see that, like, yeah, so I'm trying to remember. I think what it was is she hit Tommy with the gun when she comes in. He goes down. She's pointing she shoots Jesse. She's pointing the gun at Ellie. Ellie's standing there, her hands up. And Tommy on the floor, like, manages to push himself up and tries to tackle Abby, and that's
Mhm.
when she shoots him, uh, does she shoot him? I don't remember if he actually gets shot in the face. I know he loses an eye, but I don't remember if
I
it's
think
from
he
her hitting him or from her shooting him.
Okay. I thought it was from I mean, my memory is fallible. I thought it was from her shooting, and I think Ellie isn't sure whether he's alive or dead because it looks like she shoots him in the face too.
Mhm.
But I think after the whole fight, we realize he's still alive, but the bullet, grazed his face and he loses an
Yeah.
eye.
Yeah.
Um, but regardless, so, okay. My theory
Mhm.
is I almost feel like for her to be fired up enough to pursue Abby again, I almost wonder if she actually does shoot and kill Tommy, because I think that it would I in the lack of this, um, characterization of Tommy who's essentially egging Ellie on in that latter half of the game to go back and manipulates her and, you know, makes her feel like a failure for not finishing the job in the game. I almost feel like if Tommy is killed, then that will kind of replace and become her new reason to now avenge her uncle,
Mhm.
and go after Abby again. Otherwise, I have a hard time seeing what, because it's like her selfishness has led to Jesse's death, to this bungled operation, to the unnecessary deaths of multiple people and an unborn baby. Like, the Ellie I'm seeing in this end last episode of the show is one that is seeing how far out of her depth she is seeing how her own selfishness has gotten the people she loves the most in danger, how, actually maybe they're even justified in it, and it feels like a lot of I mean, although at the end of this episode, I guess a lot of her character has been, retconned, and actually she's just an automaton still pursuing revenge, but, I just feel like the way the writing has been going, it feels like she was ready to turn back, and so
Mhm.
I'm like, I feel like something crazy has to happen, something unexpected that didn't happen in the games for her to wanna go back. That's my
Yeah,
theory. Tommy dies or,
I could
maybe
see it.
Dina loses the baby. I don't know,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I could see either one of those things happen in this version. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Um, do you think they need 2 whole seasons to tell the rest of the story?
Hell no.
No, right? They could do it in 1.
Just do it in one.
I
My
mean, each
theory is they're trying to drag it out in case The Last of Us 3 comes out.
I mean, that would be wild, and I don't I mean, I guess show 4 years we're not gonna have a Last of Us 3 in but maybe they could have something written to go off of? I don't know.
Yeah.
We know that worked so well for Game of Thrones. Um, uh, shit, what was I gonna say? I don't think that if they are really just telling the story of Last of Us Part 2 that they need a 4th season. I think that Ellie's Seattle days were 1 episode each, and I think
Mhm.
they could absolutely do the same
Yeah.
with Abby. You got 3 episodes of that, you give Abby a flashback episode,
Mhm.
there's 4 episodes. That still leaves 3 if you do another 7-episode season,
Mhm.
and you could maybe we just do more than 7 episodes in a
Yeah, just
season,
give
I
him
don't
give
know.
him 9 or 10.
Maybe we just do more, but, you got that theater confrontation and return home, day on the farm.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Then it's like, yeah, now we're getting long, right? So we were at 4. So theater confrontation, you could maybe include the farm in that episode and even seeing what Lev and Abby are up to, Santa Barbara ending. I think you could do it. You could
Yeah.
do it. You could do it in 7 episodes.
Or just I mean, who
Or make
first of
it,
all,
yeah,
who's
8 or
ever I've
9.
never even heard of 7-episode season. Just do 8 or
Yeah.
9.
It's so well, I do think with this one, and that's it's like, are they gonna do a 3rd season and just make it super short because they wanna, hit these very specific beats in
Mhm.
the game? I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, I think it I think that they ended this where they ended it because this was the beat that made the most sense for them, and if you're doing a pretty direct adaptation of the game like they're doing, like, this is where it makes sense to put the pause.
Mhm.
Um, Although there's a lot of folks who feel like this was a bad place to cut. I don't know, how do you feel about taking the break here?
I mean, I loved the reveal of the wolf, what's it called? Base
Mhm,
sanctuary thing in the stadium at the end. That
mhm.
got me fired up for
Yeah.
Abby.
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, just the banger of, like, Seattle Day 1 and, like, yeah, I as someone who knows what happens, I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, there's a lot of folks expressing concern about the non-gamer audience and how they're gonna handle this or how they're handling this ending, but,
They'll survive.
yeah, I don't know, you can find the spoilers.
Yeah.
So that's The Last of Us Season 2 spoiler cast. I'm so sorry I've kept you so long.
No, hey,
It was fun to talk
had to be
about.
said.
Yeah, nobody else was gonna say it, just us. Um, Now overall though, like, I have my issue the game is really impressive because of the swings that it takes in how a game can convey a story,
Mhm.
switching perspectives like it does, all that, like, taking control away from the player, like, the player doesn't wanna go on this journey, but you're forced to anyway. You wanna
Yeah.
continue the game, like, I think all of that's really groundbreaking is maybe too strong of a word to use, but, like, it's it was really impressive, and the
Mm.
game was lauded for it. I think the HBO show is more of, like, a good HBO show. It's
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
it's a typical quality HBO show.
Mhm.
But I have friends who didn't play the games who have compared it to, like, The Walking Dead, and as much as I wanna be like, "No, no, this is better than The Walking Dead," it's like, maybe it's not,
Well,
though.
yeah.
May
Yeah.
maybe it's not. It is to
Yeah.
me, but, and I don't know if it needs like, that was always the issue with The Last of Us, is that the narrative is not that groundbreaking. It's how the
Mhm.
narrative is told through the medium of a video game that's really impressive. The
Yeah.
narrative itself is, yeah,
Pretty
pretty
standard.
yeah, not an unheard of, like, revenge story, and what
Yeah.
would it be like if you could see both sides? So, anyway,
Mhm.
I'm still enjoying the show. It's
Yeah.
not ruining my life, and it's also not ruining my memories of the game, because
Totally.
those are 2 separate things.
I'd love to see it wrapped up in one more season, but
Same.
I guess we'll see what happens.
We sure will. If we get a 4th season, it better be so we can just spend a lot of time in the happy land of, Ellie and Dina raising JJ, and
Ugh, yeah.
we can just get, like, 4 episodes of that. That'd be cool.
That
Cool
would be
with
awesome. I'd love that.
that. Before everything goes to shit.
Definitely.
All right. Time is up for today's session of Pixel Therapy. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope that listening to our thoughts and feelings gave you some thoughts and feelings of your own. If you want more Pixel Therapy in your life, come check us out at patreon.com/pixeltherapypod, where you can sign up for free to stay up to date on everything we have going on, find an archive of all of our content, and even read occasional blog posts about games we don't find time to talk about on the podcast. You should also check out and subscribe to the Pixel Therapy Pod YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@pixeltherapypod, where you can find live recordings of all our episodes as well as an archive of our past streams. And be sure to support the show by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That stuff is just as important, and we appreciate it just as much.
Sorry.
What's up?
Um, yes. Sorry. Finally, since we like to put our money and our energy where our mouth is, we end every episode with a recommended side quest. As always, please check out GazaFunds.com. GazaFunds is a project that connects people to crowdfunding campaigns for individuals and families from Gaza. Each time the page is reloaded, you can learn about a different campaign from a family in need. So please check out GazaFunds.com, and don't stop talking about Palestine.
Yep, 100%. Thank you for that side quest, Spencer. and for the pregnant pause that preceded it.
Sorry.
That is our show for today. Now, we've been here 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's yep. That's our show for today, folks. Go forth, run a story mission, level up some stats, and don't forget to hug an NPC every now and then. We'll be back so soon with some more
Pixel
Pixel
therapy.
Therapy. Bye-bye.